Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Mist. No one can hear you guys, so fuck off.
What?
Now they can hear you.
Better go
Hello.
fix his stream.
I'm gonna go smash his stream.
Rude.
That's
Hi,
actually
everyone.
my ethos in the hall.
Hi, everyone.
So that's our show. See you guys next week.
All right.
See you on Tuesday.
Good work.
See you
God damn
next
it.
Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you cut a promo.
Welcome to Beyond the Mist, where we talk about our 6 and 20 Metropolis campaign that goes on 3 fantastic days, and we have about, I don't know how many players we have.
11. 11 players
11?
plus 1 GM.
Yes, and
I know this because I have to draw 11 character illustrations.
you do.
There's definitely 12.
Well,
You're not
You
gonna.
have to draw
Yeah,
11 because you
that's
drew yours.
I don't count myself.
Well, you're also a
Hey,
player.
you're still a player.
No, I'm not. I am
Okay.
a mysterious being.
She is
You're
the Morgan, which
12
scares the shit out
players,
of me
and also
daily.
we
I'm
might-
horrified now.
Fine. Yes, 12 players.
12 wonderful players over 3 days, 3 different, well, technically, one case, 3 different angles that's being worked right now.
You're nailing this pitch.
I am.
We don't
I
know.
am.
We don't know if it's technically one case, though.
Oh, you know what? I'm
Johnny
just
could
going,
be leading us on.
you bitch.
you guys are 4 episodes in. I mean, I expected a little bit more resolution with the cases. Let's be honest. So
Johnny, you and me both.
lines are so
Yeah.
blurred now.
Johnny, were you there for Blades?
No.
I think.
Did you,
Remember that episode of
expect us
Downtime
to
we
do
had?
stuff?
So
I
we're gonna
expect
go.
a little bit more focus.
We're gonna go around the round table right now, get everyone introduced. And then we're just probably gonna yell at each other profusely for
Yeah.
the next like hour, 2 hours or so.
Yeah,
So
trying to ignore chat entirely.
next to me over here, Video Store Cowboy, Johnny, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Video Store Cowboy. I am the crazy GM for this crazy thing that we call 6 and 20 Metropolis. I run the Tuesday show on my channel, and then I facilitate Mike and Speedy on their Wednesday and Thursday show with our wonderful cast. So thanks for having me.
Next up, we have Metamancer.
Hi guys, I'm Metamancer. Some of you guys may know me as Morgan on the show. I'm also a streamer and I do my own games as well, and I'm on a castmate on several other shows. So I do a lot of tabletop roleplay stuff, lots and lots of it. And I'm also, digital artist, roleplay extension developer. I do lots of things and stuff.
She also slices and dices, and
I do slice and
Julienne's
dice.
fries.
Sure.
You can tell it's fresh.
I was just reminded of the Rocky Horror now.
Unmade Gaming.
That's me. That's me. I stream sometimes. I don't know, like 15 hours a week doing tabletop stuff. Far too many hours of tabletop where I get to play pretend. And this game just facilitates that even more. I barely even play this game. I'm just a giant man-child where I get to play with the toys behind me, and I progress the story 0.0%. And it's a blast for me. And at least everyone that's mentioned it in chat that's watching my shenanigans seem to enjoy the shenanigans. I don't actually do anything. That's how most of my streams go. I just fuck off, and some people keep coming back for some reason. I can't figure it out.
Wait, hold on a second. I gotta interrupt. Didn't we just have a conversation last week that it was you that actually progressed the story a little bit for your team? Oh, okay.
No,
sorry.
he's got a
I'm sorry.
reputation to hold up. Shut the fuck up.
Sorry.
And with that said, not so speedruns. Hello.
Hi.
And drop
Hi.
the ball to you.
Yeah. Oh, Thank you.
It's a far drop.
My name is Speedy. I'm one of the hosts of this thing that we do, the 6 and 20 thing or whatever, on the Thursday show. And I play Geo, the bartender / magic guy who does things sometimes and is way too distrusting of everyone around him.
So every D&D campaign I've ever played.
Yeah. And I do other things on my channel sometimes. I play other games, mostly indie games. Fucking Into the Breach has destroyed my life, but that's about it.
And talk about destroying lives, Zippy Zippo.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am the destroyer of lives and the liberator of free will. My name's Zippy Zippo. I'm a streamer here on Twitch. I do variety stuff. I love playing nostalgic games, and I troll around Twitch playing tabletop RPGs. I do it like 3-4 days out of the week, and it's all different systems, all great fun times. I've been on a nostalgic kick lately. Been replaying Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. So that's what I've been doing.
Oh, that fucking game.
That fucking game. I love it. It's great.
The only thing fun about that game is being a Malkavian and talking to stop signs and shit. Or stoplights or whatever the fuck it was.
Excuse me, I'm playing Benny the Best Nosferatu. He's like the most charismatic fucking Nosferatu. He'll go up to somebody and they're like, ew, you're ugly. And then they'll be like, hey, I actually like you. You're ugly as fuck. You look like somebody hit you over the head with a tire iron a couple times, but you're a nice person. Let me help you out.
It's pity. It's just pity.
And talking about nice people, the Wise and Fool.
Thank you. That was a much nicer introduction.
Wow.
No one expected that.
You just given it to everybody in this
Well,
room.
based off JP's character. JP's character is the nicest character ever because I'll get into it later. But introduce yourself.
I'm Sam. The Wizened Fool on Twitter. Wizened Fool on Twitch. People are nice enough to invite me on their streamed role-playing games, and I enjoy it and like coming back. So as long as they keep inviting me, I do it. That's pretty much it. Follow me and you can see all the random games I play.
And that's,
Sure, I had them
that's
on
who
for a
we have
lunch hour.
today. These wonderful people. Okay. What's everyone think of the story so far?
Terrible. Johnny is awful. Johnny the person, not the
Don't
character.
make him quit again. He already left the laptop twice in this short amount of time.
Listen, I've had him locked down for 6+ months. He can't go anywhere. It's a legally binding contract called chains. It's chains of the internet.
Oh,
I don't see any marks on these arms.
It's gonna happen. They could be anywhere. Your back, lower back, whatever. I don't know where you have tattoos, man.
Anywhere?
Your thing.
I'm a little concerned about you, Mike.
They're magic fuzzy handcuffs that are invisible, so they don't
Yes.
leave a mark.
Well, I like the campaign and the story.
I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
It's super fun. I'm always excited every Tuesday. It's like a kid waiting for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam, you're
No,
gonna say
it is. I'm like, I wake up on Tuesday. I'm like,
Yeah.
7 o'clock.
Yes.
Gonna have fun.
When it's Tuesday, that's like my Friday, so it's like my weekend begins with this campaign. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen to all the other people not solving things? But Thursday Crew solves it. And then,
That's how we feel too.
I mean, we are outnumbering everybody else tonight. I just want to put that out there.
That's
Thursday
true. That makes sense
represents-
because
But
this
is
is
it-
the time we would normally be playing.
Yeah, I know.
So we're available.
We're at an advantage. I get this.
Trent's
You
only
guys
not-
are speed running through the game. We're taking the time to actually talk to everybody and,
Well,
and
I
try
know.
every
Talking
single
about
Really speed running.
every single dialogue option.
You're
That-
stage
that
scamming
person-
is what you're doing.
I just had a brain lapse and forgot Speedy existed for a second. You're like, we outnumber everyone. I was like, how? It's just the two of you. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Speedy. Yeah,
Speedy's
he's
here,
here
that
too.
happens a lot.
Wow.
Our group has mostly just been investigating like our own bullshit.
Yeah.
Sometimes tangentially like runs into
Yeah,
that's the rest of you guys are doing.
Yep.
Well, so I find it interesting that on Thursday, because of the Wednesday investigation and how much you guys are digging into it, something really significant happened that really kind of revealed the Wednesday crew to the Thursday crew. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how things like that begin to play out.
I didn't watch it. What happened?
No shit, I'm not telling.
You have to go watch.
Yeah.
like
I
everybody
will
else.
just harass McLokin until he tells me because he is so excited about this game that he never stops talking about it.
That's true,
The-
actually.
the-
No, but
moment-
I don't know what he's actually specifically talking about because Johnny does so much in one episode. Like Johnny alone, I just think about what he's done, and I'm like,
It's
what the
true.
fuck? Because he's like boy detective, who's like he's like Superman that has the mentality of Batman, essentially.
Wait,
How
what?
is
I think that's
No.
not right somehow.
He's just-
That's
Crow.
super not Johnny.
That's how I say. He's like, I'm Batman.
That's how Johnny
And-
thinks he is.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
Johnny
Is that
thinks
not?
he is.
Is that not? That's how he
That's
comes across.
Where's
in
legit.
the show
that
whenever I watch.
meme? How I think I am, how I actually am, how everybody else sees me.
Yeah.
That's what we need for Johnny.
We do, because
Yes.
he's like Batman. He's like da da da, and how people like how he actually is like he's like dropping shit and he's got food in his mouth. And how people actually see him is just like this scrawny little kid who's just like surprised that they're looking at him. You know, that's,
This
John-
is the. Oh, good.
I was gonna say Johnny's whole interaction last week with Mr. Bjorn made me so sad that I didn't like push a little bit harder on that because I was like, was like 90% sure I knew who the Mythos was, and it was confirmed for me during Johnny scenes on Thursday, and I was just like, man, I should have like pushed a little harder on that. I really wish I had interacted with that character more.
Yeah, me and Loke had theorized who Bjorn Harold and
Mr. Gallows.
Mr. Gallows was, and then
Oscar.
it was like revealed, and we are like, yes, you're right.
we also have a theory on who Trixie is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think knowing the other two makes that fairly obvious.
Yeah.
Does it?
It might.
It might. We
Should.
don't know. We're only. We're hypothesizing. I'm sorry. We're
I-
hypothesizing.
I
on
had
who
an
that person
epiphany
is.
moment. Granted, it was on sleeping pills, but I was
We
like,
both had it. Okay.
yes, I know.
Not gonna judge you. if
Well,
want
you
to.
didn't say. I said it, and you were thinking it, and then we were both like, yes,
Yeah.
that
To
happened.
be fair,
I think I know
figured it out
most of the
sooner 'cause- Sorry, what?
So I think I know most of the NPCs only because of the behind the scenes conversations, like with the world building stuff. But I have Tuesday. I have no idea who any of those people are, except for like one of them. I know that's right. I know who Roz is, and I know who Valanda is, and that's it. I have no idea who the rest of those people are.
And it's wonderful.
Yeah, yep. Zippy, I have no idea who you are. I have no idea.
That's fine.
Who Sam is. Yeah.
I think.
I know who everyone is out of character, I think, because we had all these behind the scenes discussions and character building and stuff, so it was kind of spoiled. Behind the scenes
For
like,
a lot of people, yeah.
building stuff.
See, I didn't go to those because I'm a terrible person.
Yep, pretty
Right.
much.
That's
So,
why. That's why I show you
you're
food
in the dark.
pictures all the time.
I
My-
know.
Well,
I sent you one back, by the way.
here you go, Mike. I'm just gonna reveal it to everybody.
Oh,
My
shit.
mythos is Groot.
I've been hanging
That
on
would
to
have
that
been
one
so cool.
for so long.
I knew it.
That's why. I am Groot.
Why
Can't beat Groot in this game. Fuck! I just realized that. It just like dawned on me.
can't you be Groot?
No, you can be Groot. That's what I just said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could
can-
be.
You could be
Has
Groot.
anyone seen the D&D headcanon post? There's a like a Tumblr post online. I repost it every time I see it on like Facebook or Twitter. But it's basically someone hypothesizes that Guardians of the Galaxy is just the Avengers playing D&D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen that one. It was really good.
amazing. It's an
Yeah.
amazing thing.
It really
Well,
is.
who's Thor playing?
Thor is playing.
The
Drax.
blue guy.
Yeah, Drax.
Yeah, he made
Sarcasm.
a very obvious character who is
Yeah.
he plays Drax.
I mean, it's true because he takes things very literally, and Thor
Yeah.
kind of does the same thing, especially when he first gets to Earth. So-
And Tony
Yes.
Stark is playing. He's playing. What do you call it? Jeez,
Rocket.
my brain turned off.
Rocket
No, he's not
Raccoon.
playing. He's not playing.
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord.
He's playing Star Lord.
Oh, is he?
And, yeah.
Yeah, because he's always like,
Captain America is playing Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense at all. Like,
Because
It's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be Bucky is the DM. So Rogers is just fucking with him the whole time. I'm gonna be.
oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Which still goes against Steve's character, but
Well,
okay,
that-
whatever.
His fantasy of how he can't be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the
you
Hulk is
have to
playing
decide
Groot.
who you are, right? I mean, who you
Yeah.
want to be or who you want
Yeah,
to
exactly. Well, sometimes.
So like,
I wish I was a gnome who could
wish I was a
travel
crow.
through.
I'll be a
obviously.
gnome. It's okay. Let's play a gnome. I'm
I-
down.
I'll play gnome Charlotte Wilbur Walla Walla Thaddeus Weatherfields and his pet sheep Ramsey.
If I ever make a gnome character, his last name's going to be Glitternut. Glitternut. That will be his last name.
I don't
Glitter
even know
knot.
what you glitter not.
Glitternut.
Okay.
Glitter not.
Yeah.
It's
Obviously.
even worse.
Why?
Nobody can pronounce anything.
Actually, I don't want to know why.
Somebody just gets mad at him. God, I'm gonna bust glitter nuts so hard.
I'm out. I'm back out.
Oh shit! New Twitch TOS. Never mind.
So
As
yeah,
long as you say
What's 6 and
just
20?
kidding, it's fine.
Yeah.
I saw it on Twitch Weekly. It's fine.
so-
Just kidding.
So can we talk about who we're hypothesizing Trixie to be?
No, I want us to be right, and then we can say to
Ooh,
ourselves, "You're right."
I
You
don't
can
know.
hypothesize all you want until it's revealed. I'm not going to tell you who it is.
I know Johnny won't ever tell us.
I am 100% confident, and I
Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't you guys message me privately right now, and I'll look at them, and I can confirm or deny for those who are right.
Oh,
That's quite the offer.
Oh, I want to just talk about it out loud, though.
we're having secret discussions. Yes! Yes! That's 3 for 3. Ha-ha.
Who's
Were we
Trixie?
right?
Yes.
Okay.
We haven't
Nailed
met
it.
Trixie yet on Wednesday.
We've only met Gallows
Yeah.
and
I mean,
Lily.
This is why Thursday Crew is the best crew.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Y'all
who-
are speed running right through.
not
We're taking our
speedrunning,
time.
We're being efficient. Okay.
I
I
know.
mean,
I know who Gallows
efficient.
is.
We're not
we
being efficient at all.
stayed on the same night just because it's like there's so much to do in one
I
night.
mean, I think like I did cause some shit to happen for fucking was it Wednesday Crew by just
Yeah,
how
it was
and, like,
entirely Johnny.
What?
I don't
Well,
remember
entirely Johnny and Meta
what happened.
Morgan. The two of them investigated everything.
yeah.
The rest
Whoa.
was
Well,
Captain
no,
America.
we
the
caused
stuff
some
about
shit to
us?
happen.
Correct.
Because if
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys remember how that fucking happened, is that like Johnny forgot he gave my character a business card from Harold. So I totally, when he was like at the last second when he showed up, I was like, like here we go, we're doing this. But the one thing was what Morgan did to all of us on the that evening.
I saw that.
It
Don't know what you're talking about.
perpetuated what happened to the Wednesday crew, and we didn't even plan for that to happen.
I'm still confused.
now I'm lost.
I don't know what you guys did.
I don't
to
know what the hell
Okay.
you guys are talking about.
So Wednesday Crew, you guys actually caused. Well, you saw that Bjorn or that dude
Harold,
was
yeah.
in the, right. So it was Bjorn, that was his son, that was like all pissy in the VIP area,
Oh, you guys.
which
made
is
him
hilarious
piss him off.
because we pissed him off
Oh.
at the restaurant, but
he
obviously
doesn't-
Johnny
yeah.
wouldn't have known that we were going to do that, or could he know?
Esper.
Okay.
We're colluding. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so I'm gonna confirm something about that particular scene because I said it to you guys afterwards. I mean, I think saying it out loud kind of helps the rest of the crews kind of understand. They got ahead of the game on Wednesday, and so the scene that was set up for a particular reason because I wanted that encounter to go that particular way. The way that it played out on Thursday ended up being perfect, but I was looking for the opportunity for him to be mad. But
Mhm.
Johnny doing what he did, and then
was perfect.
the whole situation. Yeah, it was perfect.
I loved
worked
it.
out so well.
I loved it.
So
Yeah.
did we ever figure out how we're gonna fix the rolling? Because Tuesday Tuesday group rolled immaculate. I was ready to fight. I'm ready to kill people, man. And then like they're like, we're gonna talk them down. We
Oh, your
just
boss down.
Are you talking about like the rules that we're gonna have in place for
yeah,
the
I'm,
next
I'm
few sessions?
interested. Yeah, I'm interested because it's like I was ready for a fight, and then all of a sudden it just turned into let's have a drink, and it's like
Well, see, we had that problem on Wednesday where I one-shot an entire group of people.
Well, but we know that was just us not playing.
Yeah,
yeah,
you got
that
you
was-
fucked
no,
that up.
that's just like
that was
that's-
us fucking it up.
You
that was
fucked
just
that
us
shit,
not
yo.
using the rules correctly.
Yeah, that was
Mike
like
read one sentence in the book and he's like, "Oh, I could do that," and then ran off.
That's
and
not
then
true.
Did that.
I didn't read
Read the rest
anything.
of it.
That's totally Mike.
That's
I
exactly.
didn't read anything, and I said, "Johnny, can I do this?" And he said, "Yeah," and I went, "Fucking A."
Okay, but here's the thing with GMs, right? Is like if you give players any leeway at all, they'll just run with it for as long as they can
Yeah.
until somebody tells them to stop.
Yeah,
Meta
It's
gets
true.
it.
I
Meta
GM
gets
for
it.
several hours a week. Like I'm all about it.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. I get
one
that.
thing?
I have to like
Yeah,
rein in
this-
my call.
absolutely.
I mean, I let them run rampant on Sunday, and then almost one of my characters, my players, went completely insane because McLokin's character decided to imagine things and actually roll a critical success. So things
I
happen that-
imagined a wagon that had horses on it, but when the horses touch water, they turned into seahorses. But being in the Dreamlands causes people to go insane when that happens. I also summoned bacon and created a cat octopus.
Yep. Those
That would
things
make
all
all sense.
happen in one episode.
Good.
I kept rolling really good on my power.
How
and
much sanity
fucking-
did Avi take? She took she lost
18
like 20 something
No,
sanity.
18
18?
points in one go, and that was
Yeah.
the wagon incident.
Yeah. Yes,
I-
Johnny.
No.
Is that an octocat or a catapus?
I called it the
Cat-
catapus.
Yeah, he
Oh,
called it the
alright.
catapus.
I just want to make sure. I
This
was-
sounds much more like big motherfucking crab truckers than Call of Cthulhu.
The Dreamlands are the worst because like it's
Mhm.
so hard to keep it horror because I let them use power rolls to see if their like beliefs are strong enough to manifest things, even if it's like a smaller version of itself. So depending on the level of success they get, in which this case he literally rolled a 1, which is the best you can roll in Call of Cthulhu. It's backwards from D&D, and so I was like, well, I mean, I said that was what he had to get to make this thing happen, so I guess I'm fucked on that one.
You know that there's an entire comic book based on Tentacle Cat?
What?
Yeah, that's not like I thought that's what
I
you were
did not
going
know
for.
that.
So it's called Tentacle Kitty, right? And it's a pink cat. So it's a pink cat head with like just tentacles out of its cat neck. And that's it. There's like several different color variations of different cats in the neighborhood. Good.
Mike, your Google privileges need to be taken away.
Yeah,
seriously.
no
I
shit.
saw it at Comic Con. I go to Comic Con
What?
every year. It's there. Yeah, yeah. There's a whole booth for Tentackitty.
ah, God, what? Okay.
Has humanity gone too far?
Yeah. Google it, Tentacle Kitty. I swear it's
Oh,
not.
that would be a great
inappropriate.
movie.
Don't Google that.
Wait, has humanity gone too? Yes.
Yeah, well,
Day
Really
one
bad.
after evolution, we have gone way too far.
And meanwhile, in Japan,
Yeah.
and I won't fill that in. You guys can picture something, and it's probably happening in Japan. Because
You know what? This is what's happening. This is what's happening. I'm posting this in chat for everyone to see.
oh dear lord.
I'm gonna get banned from Loke's chat right now. Ready? Boom, banned forever.
All right, let me see it.
Are you?
Oh, I just look as terrifying as I thought it would.
Oh
Yeah.
no! Okay, you're like saying it's a cat head with tentacles coming out. I'm thinking it's like some kind of
Like-
cat mind flayer or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's a cat head with tentacles coming out of its cat neck. That's what I said.
That
He said
wasn't
pink, so I assumed it was adorable.
Yeah, it is
I mean,
adorable. Look at it.
pink things can be horrifying. Never mind, not going there. Okay, moving along.
It's also a ninja kitty.
All right, moving
Happy
along.
International.
So let's talk about Tuesday Crew a little bit.
That.
What is Tuesday Crew up to currently in the story?
We are going through our kind of day life kind of deal. That's what we're doing. We're montaging and flashbacking
Mhm.
and whatnot. I was going pretty robot last Tuesday.
Yeah, you were getting pretty mad about that.
Oh God, I was getting so frustrated because it was like literally stable, and then like all of a sudden,
It was fine
Whatever.
until you started talking, and then it was just like, no.
yeah, no. which is, I mean, I'm not surprised. That's what usually happens when I talk. But hey, but yeah,
Did you get
no.
fired from your job yet? In
Did-
the game, your doctor job.
I'm a medical student.
Did you drop out of medical school yet?
No, he's currently thinking about his life choices. That he almost killed somebody who stole a milk truck to give it to the poor.
Wait, so he's a student right now. Is he going to classes currently?
Yeah, no, he is.
Okay.
He goes to classes during the day, and then
During the summer.
during the summer, yeah, he's getting extra credit,
Okay.
and his job that he gets money for is a hospice at a local.
Also, after a certain point, med students don't like get summer vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Yep.
become adults?
Yeah.
What?
You
That's
don't
I
get to
wish
go
that
on
we
break
still had
from
summer
med
vacation
school,
with day jobs.
unfortunately.
I just tweeted about that the other day. I was like, hey, you guys remember summer breaks? That's great. Wish I could do that.
Yeah, I missed
Mhm.
that.
I need it way more now than I do at fucking age 6.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I mean, his day job is he's a hospice nurse for a retirement home, kind of deal. He talks to old people,
And
keeps them sane, keeps them rooted.
I want to thank everyone who's subbing Johnny and Speedy. I love you guys. Thank you. So, what is your guys' angle? Because all I see is that like your character is like doing like, you know, creating vines and like getting to place, and then everyone else is kind of like
His mythos is a hunter.
yeah.
Henry's
Just say
mythos.
what you're thinking, Loke.
Yeah, no, just say be frank. Go for it.
It
No,
it
don't pull
seems-
punches.
It seems like the girls' crew, they're like sour
I-
and then sweet.
Nick Logan, it's International Women's Day. Be careful.
They're powerful and mighty. Don't forget
Thank you.
that.
I'm
Um,
representing the women tonight
yeah.
here on the show.
On
apparently.
this, the holiest of days.
Yes.
The holiest of days, National Women's Day, deemed by Twitter. So, yeah, your crew is very interesting with Roz.
Yeah. I wasn't surprised because I was helping, like Johnny and I were helping Lauren kind of set up what she wanted to do for her mythos. I remember having that. And like I wasn't, I guess, prepared that we were going to have like so many healers in a way. Like Valinda, she uses her powers to, I guess, like soothe the mind and whatnot. I've seen her do it, kind of deal.
Mhm.
Calm people down. Roz creates barriers, and I add passive health regen, I guess. If we were talking to like a video game, bro, I'm like the Lucio, but
God
not
damn it.
so. We have like a lot of healers, and like I was like, oh, well, I'll take a job that would be perfect for a healer, a medical student. My first choice was going to be a detective, because the mythos is a hunter.
Yeah.
He's a huntsman.
Mhm.
And I was like, nah, I like the idea that he has this inner conflict with that he wants to save people, but part of him really wants to kill him. You know, like he would. Okay, so he sees a murderer. Henry says, no, I want to save that person. That person deserves a second chance. That person is a life, and I'm not going to take it. First, do no harm. But then there's something in the back of his mind says, nah, kill him. Think of all the lives that he has taken, all the lives that he's touched, and if you kill him, how many lives are you saving? So it's that kind of internal conflict. That's what Henry is wrestling with inside every time he is about to lose control, and every winter, because he just goes berserk and he starts massacring those people. Anybody who's got acquitted for things like that. So
This will be interesting when winter rolls around.
Yeah.
Morgan would
Winter
be
is
awesome.
coming.
You guys don't want Morgan influencing his actions.
You don't want Morgan and Henry's mythos in the same room
Nope.
Because
because
not on the same team, this would be a very different game. It would just be
because
very
lore-wise they
murdery.
hate each other.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty much. It would be like, hey, that team's just killing everyone, so the other days are just gonna have to try to fight them to stop them from doing what they're gonna be
It
doing.
would be the ultimate anti-hero team.
Yeah.
That's how Blades in the Dark went. Hey, that
That's
team's
exactly how
killing
Blades
everyone.
That's what I'm
Let's
saying.
fight that
To be
team.
fair, and to quote one of my players from my Call of Cthulhu game, is in my defense, with the mythos between mine and Zippo is that
I'll just say it. Cernunnos. That is my mythos. Celtic god of hunt, nature, life, death, fertility, etc.
yeah, and Morgan
So-
is basically the female version of that, except for she also has fury, and so add that to the stirring pot there.
Yeah. Cernunnos is also in several lores and myths. He is a leader of the Wild Hunt, which when he leads the Wild Hunt, he goes and purges evil souls and ferries them to the afterlife. That's what he does.
Yeah,
Now,
Morgan
Johnny, I need you to add in a Kate Sith and Sam Hain. Both of them in there.
So what I was when I heard the Meta was doing the Morgan, I was like, oh, this is great because the best thing that I love about Celtic gods is they are all about duality. They have a god that she's a woman and then she changes into a bear. You know, and each form
So a normal woman.
a normal woman
Wow.
and she
Wow.
Don't they all do that?
National Women's Day.
wait a minute, what did I just walk into? I'm not agreeing to that.
No, like that's a match.
It is
Yeah.
National Women's
Some
Day.
bears.
Let's not start the
International.
bear talk yet. Wait
That
till
means in
tomorrow.
Ireland, too.
It's just a normal thing. You guys can just turn into bears at will, right? Like it's not like it's just my experience.
But
No, that doesn't make any sense because bears poop in the woods and women don't poop. So.
Go poop. Right, the women don't. They turn into bears to go poop.
Oh, okay. That all makes sense.
Filled in. Now you know.
I'm pretty sure if anything, we would turn into crows so we can shit on everybody else. But
Yeah.
you know,
Hashtag
whatever.
International Women's Day, guys. Take a poop in the woods. Celebrate women.
Oh my god.
Something.
Morgan, I think, isn't she, one of her things is she creates chaos a little bit?
No, she manipulates things to her desire. Not so
Okay.
much chaos is like one day she'll be like, oh yes, this kingdom is favored by me, so I'll help and choose one of their warriors to bestow good luck on. And then the next day she'll be like, nah, he did something weird, so fuck that guy. I'm going on the other side. That's how Morgan is. Unfortunately, in the manifestation of her abilities, because she's also conflicted between the therapist who wants to help people, and then she has
Oh,
more
gosh.
mythos than she does have logos. So
Yeah.
her mythos is pushing her logos out, which is why I had to give attention to it during the game. We're doing downtime. Otherwise, pretty much everybody's fucked. And so one of her mythos, I haven't touched any of the abilities on, with the exception of one, which was a passive on, like, to benefit one of the NPCs. If I had unleashed that part, then, you know, all havoc and hell probably.
I want to make this known that I have never heard Meta ever explain this, but it is almost the same thing as Henry.
Yeah, I know.
Like, the whole thing is Henry losing control and going murderous and wanting to kill someone stems from he wants to get revenge for his friend Tommy, who died in the gang war. He was an innocent bystander, and he looks at all crime as a blight on the city. One of the things that Cernunnos deals with is balance. Henry does not want to kill people, so he actively rejects that part of his mythos, but he knows that he needs it. So I was thinking, wow, that'd be a great hook for like Johnny, if we had a progression, you know, that maybe Henry comes to terms that he needs to do that. He needs to kill one to save many. And then that would manifest it as the next mythos book, which would be the power of winter, his winter season power, or he completely rejects it and it just turns into a Logos book, or just doesn't become anything, you know?
Yeah. So like here's the difference in that, back to that duality you're talking about, is Morrigan 100% believes that she is always correct in her judgment. So like when we're talking about her path of
like every woman, National Women's Day.
Wow.
I'll be sleeping on the couch tonight, guys.
We're just okay.
I have room on mine, buddy.
I couldn't read it. I'm sorry.
Anyways.
Cool.
You know what? Mute yourself so when you have an outburst, I don't have to hear what you're saying.
But you know, here's the thing: your mic would pick me up because I would just yell it, and so you could like faintly hear me in the background.
I think the real question we want to know is how many times a day does Meta say that to you in real life? Just I don't have to hear it. I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a great idea. No, you don't.
No. Nope. But my point before I was so rudely interrupted.
Yeah,
is
Zippy,
that-
God.
I don't even remember what I was on. Like,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
You were talking
now-
about duality and how Meta Morgan thinks she's always right.
I also fairly do think I'm right most of the time, like 99.9% of the time.
I'm gonna beat
When it
myself.
comes to my relationship with Loke. Yep. Good. Yeah, it's awesome. On that note, though, she truly believes that mankind is not deserving of mercy. So, thus the event that happened with the Jackal. It's like her crew let him go, and she was like, no. But she didn't have to deal with trying to convince them. So she was like, well, it's just my responsibility anyway. So.
Because I was really interested in the lore behind how the Welsh see Cernunnos as this entity called Herne the Hunter. And he is supposed to be a vengeful spirit that haunts Windsor Forest. And he's referenced in the Very Merry Wives of Windsor, the Shakespeare play. And I was like, that would be cool to have Henry fight against, because he wants vengeance for Tommy, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go and kill, and because he's actively rejecting that, that's what makes him lose control every winter.
Gotcha.
What I'm hearing is that Morgan is a horrible murderer.
Yes.
And
Executioner of the justly.
and Morgan's
Judge.
is grooming Henry
exactly.
to be a
And
murderer.
Henry soon will become a horrible murderer.
I mean, like, let's put it this way. If me and Bjorn had a candid conversation, I'd be on board with whatever it is to help benefit the Rifts. I mean, let's be honest. At least Morgan would be. Or the Morgan would be, rather than the therapist.
I like to remind Meta that she's a monster at least weekly.
Yeah, he does weekly,
Yeah.
on a weekly basis. And I'm okay with that.
I want to be clear. I just said that Morgan is a horrible murderer. I don't know about Meta. Maybe he is too, but
No one was saying anything about Meta. You're the first one to mention it, actually. So
No, Meta's really great. She makes me happy. And she, she's
Are you
nothing-
writing what you have to say?
She-
Is that-
He's reading it off a cue card.
She she doesn't do anything at all. She's the greatest.
I'm on the same fucking channel with you. Oh my god.
My camera goes dead and Meta goes missing. You know what happened.
You know why.
So, so what is Tuesday Crew like currently? What's their like path right now of like solving what is going on?
So Henry, he's interesting. He's inquisitive. He wants to know about the other people like him, kind of Phil Collinsy. I want to know. Can you show me?
God damn it.
Can you show me the?
That's gonna be my head for the rest of the night. You shit.
I want to know. Okay, I'm not gonna say.
Can you show me? I want to know where there's people
It just
like
becomes
me.
So
6 and 20
moment.
friggin' karaoke, man. Let's stop this now.
I mean, I would love to do a 6 and 20 in character karaoke night.
That's Elton John, right?
No, it's
Phil
Phil
Collins.
that?
It's Phil Collins.
Why did
Phil
I
Collins,
wait,
the
'cause Elton
Tarzan
John
album.
did a cover of that, right?
No, did he?
Yeah, he did. I think
Yeah,
he did.
I think he did too.
Phil Collins did all of the Tarzan soundtrack.
Yeah, he did.
So
He did.
so with,
So
with you
Henry-
guys, yeah, like with you guys are taking a very different route.
yeah, Henry is very interested because he hasn't met anyone with powers that use it as openly as he does.
Mhm.
Henry's like, this is great. I have a torque that heals the sick. I can create vines. I kind of had this, voice in the back of my head saying, kill him, vengeance.
If you don't
And-
have Roll20 volume on, you are missing out right now.
I love it. Yes. Oh God. Okay. Sorry, I probably
Forget
peaked
the
my mic.
volume.
So that's what that is.
So when I put this on YouTube, I'm gonna get
Nope,
yelled at.
Did you stop
no,
it?
it's low volume. I stopped it. It was like 5 seconds. It's fine.
That's right. If it's a cover, you can put it on YouTube.
I can't speak for everyone else, but like from my view,
Mm-hmm.
Sam wants to kick ass and take names.
Yeah.
Charlie wants to kick ass, take names. Roz is a photographer. She's actually the one working the case in the downtime. She's the only one working the case. Henry is being a little bitch, being very shameful that he almost killed somebody who didn't deserve it. That's why he asked the alley cat.
Johnny, I gotta ask: is
Reasonable?
Sam that one character that they released at like Halloween?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was like,
You know which
the
character
whole
it's-
time I'm like, no, it can't be the one. And I'm like, wait, but it super is.
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, so Sam's playing essentially a combination of Toph from Last
Mhm.
Airbender and Daredevil.
Okay, I got that.
That's her power set.
Yeah.
But her parents are sort of city. They're city political. As aspiring. Kind of in the whole. Essentially. In the social climbing climate or the what do you call it politics element. So she's got a lot of the same motivations in a lot of ways about justice that I think Kernunos has, except his are driven by his mythos in the mythological need, and she's driven more by the fact that her parents are corrupt.
Yeah. Which
And so
I'm really interested. I feel like we've spent so much time on the first night that we haven't really been able to explore the story angles kind of deal.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I really liked what everybody has done so far when they've done downtime, where they've done downtime montage. They have explored a lot of their normal life, except for Johnny, who decided to be boy detective and Encyclopedia Brown everything. not that Batman thing. It was Encyclopedia Brown or maybe some Hardy Boys. I don't know.
He is definitely a Hardy Boy.
I am a man.
Well, I'm 17 years old.
Yeah, because I think the Two State Crew they're taking the route of going after Sable, which like when I found that out, I was like, oh shit, because like I only heard Cal talk about Sable, and that like shit, like he does, like he was like, oh I have sex with her to prevent her from killing everyone, which I was like, I mean I guess
Took
that's,
one for the team.
yeah, I mean I guess, but
Number one rule: don't stick your dick in crazy.
It's because they become bears.
Full
Full circle.
becomes a cat, actually.
yeah,
I'm just saying, if you see something that says crazy, just don't put. You shouldn't be sticking. Whatever. Anyways, go on.
But I mean, like, so when I found that out, I was like, oh fuck, how is this gonna accumulate? Because like this is that's gonna come to head to something, and I don't know how all that's going to fare with.
I feel like Henry's going after Sable because she is actively trying to collect rifts. Well, yeah, they're rifts. They're called. We haven't heard what they're called. We don't know who we are. We don't know what we are. But Henry heard that Sable's going after these people with abilities, and he thinks that is wrong. Straight
So,
up.
just for a clarification purpose, I think, and Speedy or Mike can clarify this with me. From a world building standpoint, in world they're known as legends. I believe that's what we called them.
Which ones are?
Rifts. Anybody with
Yeah.
abilities. We called them legends.
We never specifically used the word rift in any of our world building sessions when we were
Right.
picking character.
And if you look at a rules that's written, or at least the book, it actually explicitly says in the book when discussing avatars, borderliners, legends, rifts, sleepers, is that we don't know that we are rifts. We don't know that we are sleepers. We may have another term for them, like powered people or legends. So we have our
Supers.
own name for them. The word rifts is not the in-game terminology used. It's whatever you make up. So whatever you decide to call powered people, that's what you know them as. And the more people you have
like
called
how-
that, the more
Yeah, no one in a zombie movie ever says the word zombie.
Yeah.
They're walkers or
The
dead
Walkers.
people or whatever.
I actually disagree with you. In Z Nation, they do refer to them as zombies.
Any good zombie show?
Oh, it's hilarious though. You know, like all of Z Nation is complete parody on like every fucking movie under the sun. It's great.
It is. The bits
They had
I've
a
seen.
Die Hard reference in the last episode, and I was like, yes.
Spoilers.
Shut up.
But so to go back to what go back to Sable and what Zip is saying. The interesting thing, and talking about the Tuesday crew and their focus, the thread that they've pulled in this story actually focuses a lot more on the prequel session that happened, where we had Amit join us, and they're dealing with the Gerald Walker situation and the Walker Foundation, and then dealing with Lily, who they kind of cross paths with, who was, without giving too much away, was at the scene of the crime where they all started from, right? So there's they're kind of following the trail that sort of was put in front of them anyways, even though this really is about the three sisters. So it's really the Wednesday crew that isn't really pulling hard on any particular thread at this point.
What?
So I mean, Tuesday crew is doing their job, and between Roz and Henry, they're doing a good job in pursuing that. And I think Charlie's just kind of along for the ride, and Savannah is
I'll say I fucking love Charlie's character. She's like, the guy pulls out a gun. I'm gonna smack the gun out of his hand. I'm like, please don't, because if you miss, the gun's gonna go off.
Mm-hmm.
Highlight of what I've seen of Tuesday Crew was definitely when Johnny's like, all right, well, people are starting to notice you. And Sam's just like, I faint. It's like, okay.
I totally forgot that was part of
But it
Roz's
worked.
power. It is the magnetism that she has. I was like, why is people, showing up? And I'm like, oh God, they're going to see vines everywhere. I don't know what they see. I'm going to just say they see just a bunch of rope lying around. But no,
So much
I
rope.
so much rope. Where does he even keep it?
That's actually so if the mist exists in the way it does it actually veil things to ordinary people?
Yeah.
Does it?
So
That's the question. If the mist exists in the way you think it does do that. If it exists in the way you think it does.
Right.
Mike continues to point this out, and he's the only one that's actually noticed this from a metagame standpoint. The mist isn't operating as expected right now. There's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
It will, if there is a background thread going on as well that's exploring this particular element. But the direct storyline is related to this, and if you guys pull the right thread, you might fix things.
Yeah. Is it because of the bell?
I'm sorry, what?
Is it the bell from Wednesday
no.
nights? Oh, it's not. Okay.
Oh no.
That's
the
a
bell
different-
is. Yeah, you guys have figured out what the
Okay.
bell. Some of you have figured out what the bell is, and that's a completely different thread, right? And that's more
bell?
character driven.
There's a bell
Mal-
that Malcolm
that
keeps hearing
Malcolm
every once in a
hears.
while.
Well,
Oh,
Malcolm and
yeah.
Gephardt.
Yeah, Gephardt is.
Gephardt
right.
also hears it as well, yeah.
I think I know what
Um,
it is, but I was wondering if that was part of it or not.
No, it
Okay.
there. That is actually more a personal sort of
Okay.
story.
Yeah.
Thread. So
Yeah,
very
Gephardt
much.
can hear it. Gephardt and Malcolm can hear it for very specific reasons. But the reason why I know that the mist isn't operating the way it's supposed to do is because in Malcolm's backstory, his mythos operates a certain way, and NPCs are not reacting according to the way they're supposed to be reacting.
Right.
You'll notice it when all of the people in that like all of the kids that Malcolm talks to are saying, oh, I remember when this person used to hang around with us, and Malcolm has no idea what they're talking about,
Right.
because they shouldn't either. But because the mist isn't working the way it's supposed to, they're beginning to remember that other people used to be part of the crew and are no longer part of the crew.
Gotcha.
Right. Yep.
Oh yeah, that then I wouldn't have caught on to that because I don't know that about your character.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought it was because they were rifts as well, and that they were just for some odd reason the mist was making you not remember, or is
So factually, as far as I know, as far as my backstory goes, only one of the people that hangs out with Malcolm is a rift so far, and that's the one from the montage where he was having a dream about the ocean and the Kraken. That other boy is a rift. Gideon Gray is a rift. I don't even know that Samuel or Manny is a rift. I know his father is a rift, but I don't know that Manny actually is. I think Manny knows what his father is, but I don't think he's actually a rift. So far, as far as anything I've written or anything I've discussed with Johnny, none of the other kids are rifts.
That's interesting because I didn't pick up on that at all. I like the bell thing. I have my theory about that. But with the whole the rift, the mist not operating as it should be intended, like, because I've been reading the book because I just got the book, and if you go to buy the book, make sure you use the code 6and20 fan, and you get $5 off.
And you must do that directly at Son of Oak's website.
It's Son of Oak. It's store.sonofoak.co.uk.
Yeah.
And you can get the PDF and the book bundle for $60, which is the same price if you go to Amazon, but you just get the book and you get a discount on the website. So definitely go there instead. Yeah.
Yo, I went into my local game store and was like, you know what your gaming shelves need? And he's like, what? And I was like, City of Mist. And he's like, I don't even know what that is. And I was like, well, you are missing out.
Coupon code 6and20 fan and buy 25 of them.
I don't have a command, guys. I'm sorry. I'll make a command so I can hype it up at some point in time. Yeah, I mean, like with the whole mist thing, I wasn't catching on to that. I don't think because Johnny hasn't really interacted with that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so to speak, like he hasn't run into where someone's like, "Oh, you're really strong," or had that where it's like, "Oh yeah, we used to be part of your gang and then left." Because like most people in Johnny's lives are not rifts. As far as I know, I didn't write them to be rifts, but I don't know if Johnny was just like secretly like, "Oh, but they are." Yeah.
So the only reason I know from a meta perspective is because, like I said, there's a part of my backstory written in, and we played it out, and it wasn't going the way the backstory was written. And so I said, hey, is this supposed to be happening? Was there a miscommunication of backstory? Am I missing something? Is there something else going on that I should be aware of, and I'm not aware of it? And Johnny was like, yeah, the mist isn't acting the way it should. So Malcolm still doesn't know, but other people are starting to remember. Like, okay, cool. I want to make sure that I was role-playing it correctly and like there wasn't a miscommunication. That's the only reason why I know, because I was like, hey, I wrote this and we talked about it and that's not what's happening. Is that right or wrong? He was like, nope, that's right. I was like, all right, cool.
Hey, Mike, you're playing it wrong anyways.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you know.
I'm not actually playing this game. I'm actually just myself. I just put a green hat on it.
I mean, like for the most part, like with the Wednesday crew, you guys are more like delving into yourselves other than what's kind of going in, and I think Sam put it best is like you guys are kind of like intertwining into the main story with your stories as well.
Yeah.
I would call our method of investigation wild flailing.
We drop on the ground and we flail our arms and legs and hope something hits.
We are the Magikarp of detectives.
Yo, Splash is a pretty effective move.
A perfect example of that was I knew that like a little something in my backstory and some stuff in Malcolm's backstory was like tangentially tied to the skulls. And then like they were like tangentially brought in the story and I was like, well, I don't really know what to do. And I'm sure something's going on with these guys. Otherwise, Johnny wouldn't have mentioned it. So, like, let's just go poke the hornet's nest and see what happens. And then we actually got some information. So it worked out.
I feel like that's every player in every tabletop game ever. If the GM spends even a second of detail on a group, we're gonna touch it. We're gonna touch it.
See,
It's like there's that statue. I'm gonna touch it. Don't touch it. You spent 5 minutes describing this thing. I'm touching it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm in a fun, unique spot, and I think Speedy is kind of in the same spot as well. So we helped build the whole world. So, like, I know in story that the mist isn't working the way it's supposed to work, but I know why it's not working. I know what stopped it from working. I know kind of, I guess, a vague notion of how to fix it. So, like, I know how a lot of these things are working because we wrote it. But I'm also playing a character who's just prone to flights of entire whimsy. So I this is the only game that I don't take notes for, and I just turn my brain off. And like, there's literal conversations where you can watch on camera where people are having conversations that are important, and I just completely fuck off over here, and I don't hear any of the conversation. And it's the only game I've ever done that to, where I just tune out because Malcolm wouldn't pay attention, and there's no reason for a child to know some of these things. Which is why like the Cal phone call happened, because Malcolm thought that the adults were leaving him out of it because he's a kid, which more or less they were. Also, he wasn't paying attention, so he just arbitrarily stole a cell phone and called Cal and tried to get information in the way like a 10-year-old would, but it was completely ineffective.
Which I have to say, right now, we have to interject this. Trindane did amazing on both sides of that.
I have to go watch the second side.
Yeah,
It's good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was amazing when he was on the call with you and the way that he was acting.
Mhm.
You know, we got that, in through the voice acting, but when he actually did that call on screen, it was almost word for word, mannerism for mannerism, expression for expression. It was ridiculous. And it's a testament to the type of player that he is in bringing to the story, because it filled in the blank on the other side. And on Thursday night, I was just sitting there kind of covering my mouth, trying not to completely lose it, because he was just doing a phenomenal job, right?
Mhm.
So I just wanted to because Trent's in chat but he's not here, I just wanted to say that was amazing.
It was amazing. I agree.
I also like how like everyone was kind of reacting to the phone call on both sides. Well, I mean, like, Malcolm was by himself when he made that phone call, but what Malcolm didn't know is that there was 3 other people kind of like listening into this conversation, and
We were about to pursue somebody, and we're all like, this guy is like going on and on. This kid on the other side of the phone, like, hello, we got shit to do.
And I think Johnny is, or I think everyone kind of knows that Mr. Xanadu and Malcolm are the same person. Just how
But Johnny does not.
Yeah, he does.
Does he?
Yeah, because he.
Oh, but you think he's actually Mr. Xanadu? Like,
well,
is
yeah,
actually...
but they're like, oh, that's Malcolm, but he also knows him as Mr. Xanadu. So he, for all intents and purposes, he thinks that he owns that bar.
Yeah.
And Mr.
Yeah.
Gallows
Malcolm
works
Xanadu.
for him.
Really?
Yeah, Malcolm Xanadu.
the owner of
Yeah,
Xanadu.
Abe Froman, the
Yeah.
the
Because
sausage
he-
in
Chicago.
Chicago.
He ran into it, like, he almost ran into Sam and Malcolm when they went to go look at the tape. And Johnny was like wanting to go see the tape because he had an idea about the camera angles and all that kind of stuff and what you could see across the street. But that's where Mr.
There's
Gallows.
nothing to see on that tape.
No, but Johnny found something else from the tape across the street, which that was a whole breaking in scene.
Mhm.
I saw
It was
that too.
funny.
That was good.
Good team.
Yeah, team Geo Johnny Geo, where
Yeah, and then-
they broke into stuff.
I dumped that computer off a bridge.
Yep, you did. You did
Our
do that.
team's got
not
some leads now, though. We're getting there.
Yeah, so our team, so I can't speak for anyone else's team, obviously. I'm not on them. But our team, we built in a bunch of like overlapping story arcs between our characters. Because like I said, from the one shot, we did an initial premiere episode like 0 1 shot, which has the death of of Mr. Walker.
Mhm.
It's where Sable comes from. It's where like a bunch of other people kind of come in, and so I had no idea how that would tie into the actual campaign. So I just said, fuck it, I'm going to make a fun character backstory. And then other people were like, oh, here's how my backstory works. We're like, well, I can see how they overlap here. So we have a bunch of overlap with our characters. Like the reason why there's such an on-screen thing between Gepard and Malcolm is because our backstories are interwoven. Like there's like a super meta where like the reason that Gepard hasn't gone like full Avatar is because Malcolm is holding him back. And the only reason Malcolm hasn't like gone either direction is because Gepard's helping him maintain his logos by looking for the mystery in his backstory. Like both of us have a tragic mystery in our backstory that one of us is trying to find and one of us doesn't know he has. Like Malcolm has no idea that he has a tragic past because his mythos kind of blocks it from his memory. And then we have Lauren's character who is just driven to kind of help people and is also a morbid monster. And then we just stole Sam. So Sam was our McLokin, where he showed up the day before we started streaming. Was like, I made a character. We're like, great, you're on the team. And then he's our actual good guy.
I specifically made JP as a character with the idea of like making the kind of character that would like glom on to the first group of people in this like sort of strange new world that he's found himself dumped into. And then just so that it would make it nice and easy for me to integrate the character. And then it just turned out that it worked like really well. And like, especially with the whole like way all of our mysteries sort of intertwined. I mean, like last week we spent the group all together spent like an hour and a half exploring JP's existential crisis about whether or not he's a clone.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Flicker was in the one shot with Julia Sable and Geo and Calvin and Malcolm. So she knows. So she's trying to do some research with the whole. I don't think she's doing like a super lot of research with the sisters' disappearance. I think she's more concerned with Walker, his death. But then she's also assisting Gephardt, and then she also has some unknown ties to Malcolm. So like we're all simultaneously exploring three different mysteries. Like at this, like it's strange, or four mysteries, I guess, because we're looking at JP's mystery, we're looking at Gephardt's mystery. Occasionally, we get glimpses of Malcolm's mystery, and then we haven't put together that there's any kind of connection between the sisters and Gephardt. Not Gephardt, the sisters and Walker, if there is.
Well, we're starting to get there because we found the cork board.
Right.
See, I was going after Sable because that was the first antagonist that was put in front of us. Like, yeah, there's the missing girls, but the case that Henry was following was, who are these people that got punched? Who killed them? When we found the person who killed them, then they're surrounded by the alley cats. So we interrogate the alley cats, and they kept saying Sable. So I feel like I like that we're going after Sable. And I like that the other crew is going after the sisters, you know, and maybe some way we can meet in the middle, or some way it ties in all together in a nice little bow. I am interested. Well, like you said, you're actually dealing with a lot of more character-based stuff, right?
I will say though, so
still around.
I know that like after, assuming that we don't all get murdered by this succubus, of course. After
I'm looking forward to, actually.
Yeah, well,
the murder.
After seeing the cork board, I think a lot of our
mean the faulty Malaysian cork board?
Yeah. Okay, true. The Malaysian styrofoam board.
I love that line.
You know, there's like a lot of names that have come up for our crew a couple times, but we didn't really know enough to like pull on those strings. So like things with like Azer Technologies has like been a name that's come up a couple times. Like we ran into Mr. Bjorn, we've heard like a little bit about him, and now we've like seen that link. There was some other company, but basically
there's a
like,
medical company, and there's the Chow Industries.
Right. So there were like some groups that had like peripherally like we had like heard about that I think now that our crew has seen a little bit more of the bigger picture as Flickr laid out, I think we're going to be able to pull on a few more of those strings.
Has Esper put the 2 and 2 together that the Walker and the sisters is related?
Well, I don't know if the whole crew has, but yes, we've discussed.
Like in character, have you done it?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, Morgan told the detective like there's a connection here, and I don't know what it is yet.
We pulled all our notes together last episode, so we were able.
Like Zippy said, we are all working it from literally all of the angles. We have one working it from the Sable side, one working it from the sister side, and then Lazarus, that's what we call our team, is working it from the dead center. We just figured out that everyone's connected. Now we're like, oh, now why?
Look at it as if it was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. There were 3 storylines going on in that entire movie. You had the
guys
internal.
Walking,
you had the
the
internal
other people walking.
No.
And the whole walking.
So you had Sam and Frodo.
Mhm.
You know, you had Merry and Pippin, and then you had Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli.
Yep.
And they all worked towards the same endpoint. Sauron's tower falling, the ring is destroyed, but they focused on different
Ways to do it.
views. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Tuesday's going after Sable. Wednesday's going after
Kind of everyone at once.
yeah. Well, no, you guys, I would say you guys are like Frodo and Sam, because there was a lot of stuff that was going on between Frodo and Sam that was very inner, character based, you know. And then you have the Thursday crew, you know, going after
Bjorn.
Bjorn.
Yeah, Asia
So-
Industries.
Or maybe
This is-
working
that's
with
something
Bjorn.
No. Thank you very much. No.
So
Morgan has 2 boyfriends now.
So the way that I would actually probably rank it is Wednesday is Frodo and Sam. Tuesday is Merry and Pippin, right? Because we're going off on like we're going off a little
Guys are
bit
going
and
to
we're
deal with
reaching.
some Ents.
We're dealing with the Ents. We're going to Rohan and
Zippy is Treebeard.
Gondor.
Fact.
I'm Treebeard.
Yep.
I love that deleted scene where it's like it's nighttime and it's like, are you guys done yet? Oh, we just finished saying hello.
Yep.
And then I would say Thursday crew is the trio, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli.
Except for that
Yeah.
was the previous movie. Just wanted to put that point.
Actually,
Nope.
yeah,
I
you're right.
just watched it the other week.
I would say it was almost a Matrix thing where they had to take the third movie and cut it in half and make the second and third movie. So, but
Anyway,
I'll
anyways.
believe you.
I want to point this out that both Tuesday and Wednesday crew, they have like a fluid, like amicable relationship, and then Thursday crew is like, "Fuck you guys!"
We're
like messed
dysfunctional.
around.
That-
Yeah, we're
I-
very dysfunctional.
I like to think, everyone like doesn't trust each other except for
Except for
Johnny.
John, yeah.
I think
Except for
Johnny is like
Johnny
the
hates
weird
myself.
glue that keeps everyone together. Because if Johnny
You're
wasn't
right.
there,
Yeah.
everyone would have been like, "Fuck you! I don't want to talk to you." And then
Yep.
Wednesday's a weird, goofed up family. We've got Daddy Gephardt. Malcolm is the youngest kid, and then we've got like Auntie Flora and JP.
Careful the way you call Greg Daddy.
No, we're not careful at all.
I am
Gross.
like intimidated because you got Volley, Sam, and Lauren, who all work great with each other, and they all get along, in character, like right off the bat. And then you got Henry, and it's like, yeah, he talks in platitudes, and he's trying to be respectful and nice, and you don't know whether or not he's saying what you want to hear or if that's his real thing. He's trying to be respectful, but
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I think everyone's got an interesting dynamic, but
Mhm.
I can't wait for crossover episodes where I get to interact with other people and see how well they interact with Johnny, personally.
I want the Stag and the Satyr to be in a crossover episode and see how Trindane and Henry
Mhm.
kind of bounce off of each other.
I can tell
mean,
you
we're for
right now
sure
how that
gonna
will
have-
work.
We're for sure going to have the marvelous misadventures of Malcolm and Johnny.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
where they eat
That's
everything.
an entire like side series. That's a
Yeah.
spin-off right there.
Yeah, we're actually gonna-
It's like the
it's
Joey
actually-
of Friends.
Yeah, we're actually launching a new Patreon, and guys, here's the announcement. And the first goal is the Marvelous Misadventures podcast of Malcolm and Johnny.
That would it'd be the best buddy detective show ever.
We'd get nothing done, but we'd be full the whole time.
I don't know.
Oh.
Johnny gets stuff done. Like
Yeah, Johnny does.
John,
Like,
so
Malcolm does
Super
not.
the benefit of Johnny is that, like, me personally, I watch a lot of mystery shows, so I'm always like, what's that thread? But Johnny, I get to live through his childlike wonder and curiosity and pull those threads, because like as someone who can't, like, has played players who would just like not even notice that, like I will see those in games where I'm like, yeah, but my character won't even touch that. So he'd be like Sarge in a Call of Cthulhu campaign, one of the characters died, spoilers, and
Dude.
with Sarge to even fucking investigate the fucking thing. He was just like, no. Like, me personally, I would have been like, what the fuck happened? But he dug a hole and buried the dude and was like, fuck it, he's dead. So
Yep,
like Johnny,
That's what happened.
Johnny has he's very nerdy, so he has a very like a big understanding of like, hey, comic books, Batman, detectives, mysteries, there's something bigger going on here, and he feels like he's a part of something, and he's like going forward trying to figure it out. And he's also got like, that naivety, where he just like walks into a situation, partly because his powers, he hasn't felt pain, so he's not really intimidated by anyone. And the other fact is that he's young, he wants to go in there and ask blatant blind questions and not be paranoid about anything, or have not anyone be shady towards him, or and pull at those strings like, well, why are these things connected, and that's where that curiosity really ties in everything. So especially Johnny the Crow.
Johnny the Crow. I love him.
That's also the announcement for the second series.
What is
Yeah,
Johnny gonna?
That's just an animated short.
You know what? Like, if we could make an animated short and just be like, the next day, this is what happens. Like, I could write you like, Johnny, if we go into the next day without talking about what happens to Johnny, like, we could do something offline where like, this is what Johnny does, because everyone went home for the night. Johnny, it's like 8:00 at night. Johnny's not tired, and he doesn't have to be home for a few hours. So Johnny,
And he's a crow.
and he's a fucking crow flying around that can say one syllable words at people.
Nevermore.
Food.
Oh, never.
Food.
Never.
I've been thinking about this all week about what the fuck Johnny's gonna do as a crow, and there's a few things I want him to do, and I feel like that would take a lot of time because everyone's already like, we've gone home, and I'm like, okay, well, this will.
I'm a crow.
I'm
I
a
think
crow.
that's why the Malcolm Johnny duo would work well as a one shot or a series of one shots or whatever it turns out to be, right? Is because Johnny is inquisitive and curious by nature, and Malcolm is just pure imagination. So he's just prone to flights of whimsy where he just drags you places, and then you find all the clues, and he just arbitrarily decides to go to the next place, and somehow, I don't know how it's happened, but tangentially it's always related to the next thing. Like, Malcolm just lucks into finding places that other people need to snoop around. Or he just randomly leads you on an adventure that you find a clue that leads back to 3 adventures ago, which is pretty interesting.
I think Johnny's always down to go on an adventure,
right?
Just because of his mythos in general,
Yeah.
and Johnny being a child. So I think that really adds into it, and like,
It'll be pretty funny.
yeah. Like one episode, I just want to see that where it's like Charlie, Malcolm, and Johnny, and then like one of the adult characters, and you could call it the Babysitters Club, because it's one person trying to keep everyone in check, and it's just insanity because you have
Yeah.
Impulsive characters.
So
also,
I'm
Cal should not
torn-
be allowed around that many children.
I'm torn between having it be Cal because that would be hysterical, and because Trinity would hate it, or having Sam do it because he would be the worst babysitter, and then he would just be almost as anxious as Johnny is, trying to figure out how the fuck he's going to get these kids safely to where they need to be without getting in trouble because he's the only responsible adult.
Wait, guys, I mean, you should maybe not.
JP drives around in
Yeah, he
a
would never-
soccer mom van.
There'd be no authority whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, wait, JP's he's a martial arts instructor. There
Yeah,
would
we
be
haven't
authority.
seen-
That's
JP
true.
might be good with kids. We haven't
That's true.
seen. We haven't seen.
That's
Who
a good
knows?
point.
He's not a ninja. We know that for a fact.
Malcolm
he is
keeps
not a
reminding
ninja.
him.
I was the one who first told Malcolm that I wasn't a ninja.
I
just-
know.
But
Yeah.
you walked in around with a ninja outfit on, so
Yeah,
I mean, whose fault is that then?
exactly.
Is the gi really a ninja outfit though?
So if it's
To
not
a child, yes.
Yeah. If you went up to a 10-year-old person and showed them a black gi and say, "What is that?" They'd be like, "Ninja outfit."
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
For sure.
I don't know. I
Well-
was 10 years old, and I remember knowing the difference between a ninja outfit and a gi.
All right.
Well, that's because you were educated as a kid.
I would say the average
I got-
child would not
I
know.
got yelled at for teaching my 5-year-old cousin what a marionette was because he was like, "Pinocchio is a puppet." I'm like, "Yeah, more specifically, he's a marionette." And everyone's like, "Come on, he's only 5." And it's like,
They're trying to get
Yeah.
him ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
I think
Listen, the Ninja Turtles wore belts. A gi has a belt vis-a-vis Ninja.
Leonardo also used swords that weren't actually real at all.
I'm,
Sides are also defensive weapons.
I'm letting
And
this
nunchucks
tangent go.
And nunchucks are farming implements.
Anyway,
Bruce
talking
Lee was a
about
good farmer.
What is this? Where are we?
A parallel universe where Bruce Lee was a farmer. So
Bruce Lee, yeah, man. Totally.
I mean, like, I do like where everything is going, and I'm really curious to see where everything accumulates together. So, Johnny, where does, like, speaking of crossovers, where does you think everything's going to, the crossovers you think are going to start happening, or like in your mind?
So that's a question where there's a little bit of a struggle, right? And to Mike's point, when he said earlier, did you play Blades, right? Or when we played Blades, it was crazy affair, right? There was a certain amount of planning that went into play, and then that plan went out the window within 2 episodes because of the circumstances with which the players did what they were doing. So I had hoped to make this a little bit more structured than we were playing Blades in the Dark, in that the mystery would sort of drive stories to a reasonable conclusion within a couple of sessions. Like we would, like there's a definitive end to this particular story, and there is a definite beginning to the next. And there was basically a couple of stories planned within the framework of one episode, of one season. The 10 episodes. Where we are now, you guys are still kind of pushing towards that, and until we get to that logical conclusion, it's a little bit harder to say, well, these are where the crossovers are going to happen, right? Or these are where the things are going to happen. That being said, I think there's plenty of opportunity where we don't have to be at the end of that for those crossovers to happen. Each crew is vaguely aware or is aware of the other in some way, shape, or form. And so
I don't think anyone's aware.
Tuesday
I
No,
don't
that's
think
not
anyone's
true.
aware of Tuesday Crew.
Tuesday crew is aware of
Yeah.
Sesh Zero crew
right.
because Philly
Yes.
was like, Cal, this random Italian named Gio, and then Liz. We're aware of characters that are in Sesh Zero, but we do not know what crew they belong to.
That's
Well,
true.
hold on a second. The framework of the crew isn't really what should determine, how
Oh no, yeah, no, we could.
It's really about the individual characters, and
Yeah.
every crew is aware of the other crew in some way, shape, or form because they are aware of individual characters in those
Like
on those teams.
Everyone saw
Lauren
GP.
has a connection to Cal because of the magazine and whatnot.
Well, that's
and-
not the
and
only
that
issue.
whatnot,
Serial data,
yeah.
So
Yeah, and that whatnot is what I was pointing towards.
It
I
is
don't
her
think
weakness.
I don't think Henry has any connection to anyone else though. So I don't know.
I think you are the only. I think Roz is the only one who has a direct connection
Mhm.
to anyone else on the other crew. I think the Tuesday crew definitely is aware of at least Malcolm, Geo, and Cal.
Mhm. Yeah, that's yeah.
Wednesday crew is definitely aware of the Thursday crew in Cal, and there has been some awareness of who Morgan is, specifically because Flora is chasing down this situation with Morgan's direct, like, sort of, on again, off again love interest, and that
Malcolm knows Geo and Calvin.
Right, Malcolm knows Geo and Calvin, and now Morgan is acutely aware of that situation because of that call from Derek, and JP is aware that there are definitely kind of strange connections going on there as well. So
and all of Esper knows Malcolm now.
Well,
Yeah.
also Gephardt would know who Morgan is. So there's like other strings that are connecting to each other, which is interesting. I'm very curious to see when Morgan's confronted with questions about that case at some point in the future.
And
So
I think that's one of those crossover episodes that we've been talking about, right? Where it's Gephardt, Flora, and Morgan all in the same room. Following that. I mean, it might
that's going to be interesting.
It might just be one of those episodes where it's really just a scene playing itself out and it's just a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
I suspect that there's more to it than that, especially with what I have planned for it. But I just, it's not an easy question to answer, although there is plenty of opportunity for it to happen.
There's also an interesting crossover that we discussed and joked about, but never actually finally confirmed, between Malcolm and Geo, which I still think is super interesting. Especially with how the mist works right now, and how it is waning, or its function is waning, which I think that would be really cool if it actually came to fruition. I don't know how it would play in, or how it would actually, how either one of us would realize it was a thing, but it's a neat crossover backstory wise.
It would be really difficult to work in. I don't want to keep talking about it because it's being really vague and no one else will understand what it is. But it would be really interesting to see it come about.
So, like, the one thing, I think the one thread that I get very curious about, and I think Johnny has in the back of his head as a character, is the dudes in gray suits. No one's really pulled on that one, and I'm very curious about that one, because I know Wednesday crew ran into them, and then the other two crews have, I think only Thursday crew knows of them as well because they watched the video.
So I gotta ask Johnny, are the dudes in gray suits in the book?
No.
Okay, because there are dudes in gray suits in the book that I was like, are these the same guys?
So if they're the ones that I'm thinking of, and you should send me a page number and I'll double check, it is definitely not the same guys, but it's not the same ones I actually think they're not even remotely related to what you're thinking of.
Gotcha.
Because some of there is some inspiration that is being pulled, and what's interesting is that there is one element that happened on Wednesday that nobody I should say Flora and JP didn't pull when they were at Xanadu. But there was actually one relatively small drop that would reveal a big portion of something that is coming into play that is directly from the book, and it is a big element from the book. It's one of the avatars from the book, but nobody actually pulled that thread on Wednesday. So I'm waiting for that to happen.
I really want to see how the most recent one shot plays in. So like I know who Gallows is. I know who Bjorn is. I know who the guy at the door.
Tamonte.
Thank you.
You can thank Turndane for that crazy ass name.
Yeah, I know who he is, and I know who his niece is. I know who his niece is.
Who's his niece? Like, not the Makos, but
she's no one now. So in the one shot, she was a musician who had a very important trumpet.
Galen Bell, and she had a.
I have notes on that one because that's a character that takes notes.
Yeah, she was a musician that played the trumpet, and she was very, very, very good at it. And she was all over town. She was essentially a session musician.
Yeah.
And they were asked to sort of escort her, and well,
And we did. We escorted her, but what we didn't understand was that the trumpet was also very important. And she was separated from the trumpet, and the trumpet was lost, and then she forgot everything. So
the trumpet was her relic.
So from a meta
Yeah.
perspective, she was 3 logos, 1 mythos, and the relic was the mythos. So when she lost the trumpet, she became a sleeper.
Yeah.
And she forgot Tamonte, she forgot everything, and Gallows was not happy about it. Despite him not giving us the full story, so we as players didn't know, or we as characters didn't know that there was a full thing going on. But it also introduced clowns, which is always weird, and a circus with powered people in the circus, and Tamonte's niece, which was just an orphan that he found and I assume gave the horn to. But I know what the relic was and how she ties into who the rest of those people are.
Okay, but
I'm
Thursday Crew
curious.
never met or heard of that person, so I was like, yeah.
No.
Well, no. So here's the interesting thing: Johnny walked into Xanadu when that crew was actually being given their.
Oh, I got notes on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because there was Chupacabron, who was my favorite introduced item, character, relic, animal, whatever.
Chupacabron, he's
I
the.
get the feeling he might be the
elephant.
Chupacabra.
No, Chupacabron is an elephant.
Chupacabron is an elephant that has been modified.
Yeah.
To a chupacabra elephant.
So there was a guy who was an ex luchador. I forget his actual character name, but he was
Nacho
essentially
Libre.
mitosis from the pre-gens that he tweaked and made a Spanish or a Mexican boxer who had taken a lucha kind of tone, and we defeated a Beastmaster and stole his relic, and then we tamed an elephant and he rode it, and the elephant started developing his mitosis powers because he smashed the elephant because it was he's like a Hulk kind of guy, and then he healed the elephant with his cellular healing ability. He cut his hand and put his own blood in the elephant, and so the elephant started mutating as well. And so now he has an elephant riding companion, and we used the elephant to plow down some clowns. It was
what?
It was typical one shot, Speedy.
It was Kukui. That was
Kukui. That was his name.
That's right. Yeah, that was Frag's character.
Yep. El Kukui.
Oh boy.
So Johnny is actually aware of that situation, right? And that may come up as well at some point. Although the way that it was left off, it seems like those 4 characters would be given an opportunity to make amends on their mistake.
Okay.
But I'm not. That's still going to come into play anyways. That event has now happened in the real in the setting of the game. So that eventually will kind of play out in its own way and will become an important element.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see how it plays out. Like I said, knowing from a meta perspective, knowing who those people are, and then who this person is who is now forgotten. I'm interested to see why that was so important. Besides the lore, the real world lore, why that's so important in game, and who the clowns and why they wanted it are, and how that, if at all, attaches itself to the actual main campaign story.
Oh, it definitely has an impact on the main campaign story. You're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Especially because you figured out who she was.
Oh yeah.
Right. You figured out her mythos, and that mythos definitely has an impact given everybody else, all the other characters that you have met. So
yeah. That's pretty cool. I like that. I'm digging it.
I'm digging it too.
Yes. So what plots in or out of your show do you guys want to see pulled the most?
Like personal?
Mm-hmm. Like either a character's, someone else's plot thread in their show, in your show, whatever, in a one shot. What plot lines do you personally want to see pulled the most?
What happened to Roz?
That's a good one.
Because because of the fact that she's hiding something. She's always asking, do they know who I am? And it's like, okay, I understand that she used to be a child actress and stuff, but I try not to read a lot of out of character stuff. So when I learn it in character, it's kind of like I can react to it like, oh yeah, no. So I know that she was a child actor, and then all of a sudden she wasn't. Like it was like the Macaulay Culkin effect, you know? Macaulay Culkin was a huge ticket actor throughout the 90s. And then it's like, we haven't seen him since. Or who's the guy who was Malcolm in the Middle?
Frankie Muniz.
One guy.
Frankie Muniz. Now, we know that he retired. Like, he was able to retire after Malcolm in the Middle, Big Fat Liar, and all that other stuff. So it's kind of like a, where are they now? And then it's like, when we look at where are they now, there's Roz right there, but you would never know it was Roz.
I have the saddest Frankie Muniz story ever.
Oh Jesus!
I went to a convention in Philadelphia called Wizard World Con, and it's just like a random conglomeration of nerd shit. They just stuff into one building, and the person I was with had to go to the bathroom, so I'm standing there in like this back hallway just waiting, and it's behind all like the partitions, and I'm standing there waiting, you know, and I see a person walking by, and I'm like, man, that guy looks just like Frankie Muniz. And then he walks closer and closer, and I'm like, man, that guy is Frankie Muniz. And he had no security, and all of the random con goers just watched him go by, and no one gave a shit. And I was like, oh, Frankie Muniz.
I was over in San Antonio doing PAX South.
Yeah.
And I was working there. And one of my favorite, like when I was into League of Legends, he used to do League of Legends rap about characters and stuff. Yeah, like they had this whole entire thing where it was QWERT and something. It was their group, and I saw him because I remember him doing a live action like concert, and I was like, he looks so familiar. I know him, but I don't know him. It was that kind of feeling, like I want to go up and say, hey, but I don't. And then it didn't hit me until I was driving back to Houston from San Antonio. I was like, shit, I know where I seen that guy. Son of a bitch.
I just want to give you a hug, Frankie. I'm so sorry that no one cared that you walked by.
Okay.
You know what? He probably was totally okay with it.
Oh, yeah.
To bring it back, now the thread that Johnny wants to pull is what happened to Frankie Muniz.
Right, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So
no one cared. That's what happened to him.
What thread? So, what thread does Malcolm want to pull? Or you personally, which one do you want to see?
So I have two. Because one, I want to see what the hell it is, only because I've talked to you a bunch of times about it, is the Kraken and what that is. Because I think that it's more than the video game. So like I know what your mythos is. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's more than just the video game. I think there's more to it than that, and I want to see how that plays in. I know it probably doesn't have anything to do with the plot, but I want to see that come to fruition for Johnny. Mm-hmm. And then the second one is I want to see Malcolm's dark past come in, only because I want to see how it comes in.
Yeah,
I want to see how Johnny does that. So I think it is one of those like tragic backstories, but I played it off in a weird, whimsical way. That like that's why Malcolm doesn't understand what's happening around him or why he is the way he is. So it's interesting and has like one of them is completely mundane that he's just made fantastical, and the other one like I know what it is because obviously I wrote it, but it's why it happened, and why it happened can tie into so many other things that could be related to the actual plot or could be related to other people's plots or any number of things, which I think is kind of interesting, and I'm curious to see how that comes into play. Yeah.
I've got one.
Okay, what's yours, Sam?
I'm very interested in seeing how Morgan's story plays out. Specifically, I think Morgan right now is the character where we're seeing the most inherent incompatibility between her Logos life and her Mythos life. in like the way Morgan acts and like the way as a mythos and like her role as an investigator and her like relationship with the authorities. I can't really see any way that isn't going to come to ahead in some real and dramatic way, and I'm very excited to see how that goes, whether that like prompts a full like move into just like I am the Morgan, I will destroy everyone, or whether that like causes her to back off and like move more towards the Logos side.
Yeah, I'm definitely really interested in that as well, because like I think Gio's been kind of like prodding at that a little bit, because he can kind of see through the mist. He can tell like this is the like this myth is gonna fuck shit up at some point and is inherently distrustful because of that. And I want to see like how that plays out so bad, and like if there's anything that we can do to stop it from boiling over to a point where it's just a murder rampage. I'm very curious to see how that plays out between characters, because I think that she's very interesting in that way.
I think so too, because I'm interested in that as well. I'm interested with what Trent's doing with the Beast and Morgan. Like I want to see what's going to happen there. Also, like how when we see a full, because I think like with Meta and I talking, we haven't seen full Morgan yet. We've only seen like a part, and I think when full Morgan comes out, people are just gonna be like, when Morgan dives down as a crow at 60 miles per hour and ripped out a dude's throat, and Speedy's reaction was, "Oh shit!" Like that was it's gonna be like that, but like times 1,000, I think.
Yeah, but, and in character.
I think me personally, like now I'm interested why the mist isn't working. Just me personally, I want to find that, so I'm gonna watch the other shows to figure if anyone's gonna follow that one. The gray suit people, I want to pull on that thread, but I don't know how to go about it, so I have to think about it more. What was flying in the air? And guess who's a crow right now?
The pirate ship, you mean?
No.
That other thing. Oh yeah, that thing.
There is other things.
I have some theories on that too, but I haven't shared it with anybody yet because I'm waiting for more information.
I'm waiting for more information too, because I think of something, and but as well as
to make a guess, you're both welcome to make a guess, and I will confirm if it is true. I'll just let you know that. You can. We did this during Blades as well. Whenever there was something that was vaguely sort of like obvious but not really sure, somebody wanted to make a guess, I will give you a positive response if you do. Oh,
hold on. There we go. There's my. I'm trying to think what like there's a lot of things Johnny is like unraveling, and that's but like I think that's like a lot of it is like what is going on. There seems to be like, what the fuck is Harold talking about? What Harold was saying to fucking Johnny was just like, it would confuse Johnny. It made me think of fucking Nazis, honestly, when he was like, oh, a new world is coming for Risk, you know, and like he's going off about some shit, and I was just like, oh yeah, cool.
It's a question of, is he Professor X or is he Magneto?
Yeah, you know, is he Hitler or Mussolini? Which, you know,
those are both bad options.
Those are both bad people.
I think, you know what? Yeah, let me tell you. But so,
I'll tell you what, Hitler was a legend in the game.
Was he?
Oh, okay, now you were not supposed to say that. You were not.
We weren't supposed to on the show.
Technically, any historical character can be. So,
yeah. Right, but so okay. I'm going to address this right now because Mike just dropped a hell of a bombshell. The history of the last 150 years, I think, if we're talking about 2017, 2018, last 150 years in in-game world, there is a fair bit that we actually worked out in respect of what actually happened, right? And so Mike just dropped something really interesting out that if you spend a little bit more time thinking about it, you got it. You got what Harold was going for just out of that. And that's the problem with world builders and dropping information that they shouldn't have, because it's really obvious what's next.
Damn it!
It's really obvious for the DM and the other world builders.
Oh, so he is making a Nazi army.
No, but so Hitler, World War II, all of those elements have a significant impact, or all of those historical events have a significant impact on what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Guarantee that we will at some point release the two video videos that we did, plus some of the world building.
Yeah, it's like 8 hours of fucking world building.
Oh yeah.
it is absolutely ridiculous, but it'll be obvious very shortly once you start pulling that thread what's going on.
Okay.
I mean, we've already gotten hints from our conversation with Bjorn last time, so.
You got vague hints.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot more to pull there, but when you start looking at historical events and the context of how they're playing out now, it becomes very obvious. Very quickly.
That's why so many red flags went up with me. I was like, oh, so from someone who's in the military and learned about like military pass and just like going through those like classes and that kind of stuff, I was like, oh yeah, cool, dude.
That's a very particular phrase you're using there.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did you say New World Order in 1 second? Okay, and
why do you keep throwing your hand in the air like that? So
that's an awkward angle for a high five. I don't know how to get up there.
That's a weird way to point, sir. Zippy, what threads are you hoping that get pulled?
Oh, the personal storylines. Yeah, no, the whole Raz thing.
Oh, the Raz thing. Okay.
Yeah,
I think I'm trying to
Meta and Speedy.
Yeah, Meta and Speedy. Speedy
and our GM is also a player.
I'm saving him for last because
he doesn't get
I want to see what he says. Speedy, what do you have any other ones other than the Morgan?
So I'm interested in the mist being revealed, or like what's going on with the mist. Not because I don't know, because I do know because of the world building sessions, but I'm interested to see how it plays out and how our characters will react when we find out. And along with that, I feel like it's going to come with a difficult choice. And I really want to see how that plays out, whether we choose to continue along this path that we're on, or if we realize that maybe the people we've been fighting are on the right side or something like that.
Which is also interesting because the mist inherently blocks itself from people like us as well. So we don't know what the mist is or understand how it works or that it works or what it does at all. So to become face to face with like, hey, here's some shit. And you're like, oh, okay. Neat. Now I'm in charge of this shit. Okay, that's a big one.
So, yeah, because it seems like that's what it's kind of leading towards, is this question of like, if the mist is not working properly, why? Who's responsible for that? Do they have a really good reason for it? I'd be interested to hear like whatever arguments we presented, if it's going to be like some massive evil villain who's doing it, or if it's someone who seems very rational and has a very good reason, and like what arguments will appeal to each of our different characters. Because I think it could go either way for every character, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say this. It wasn't until recently that I was able to kind of reconcile what we had talked about in world building with an idea that I originally had for running the game the first time Mike and I talked about doing it. And that idea was basically talking about the essential nature of the mist and giving the players some, giving the characters some insights without ever actually revealing that the mist actually existed. And I think based on some of the things that have played out over the last couple of sessions, I'm still going to get to explore that. And you guys are still going to get to explore the fullest limits of what we did from world building. So that's actually kind of exciting, because if I can bring things back around to the way that I get excited about a game, it's always with my first idea. It's always what inspired me, and that's what we did with Blades in the Dark, right? And so with Metropolis, it's great to see that that's slowly starting to come back to the place that my head really originally started with.
And I'm very interested. Like, I want everyone to know. Everyone here has the book, right? So all the players have the book, and everyone's reading through it at their own speed. Those of you in chat that don't have the book, the way we're playing City of Mist is different than how it appears in the book, right? Myself, Johnny, Speedy, Trendane, built the world we're playing in, and actively decided that the Mist is going to fuck up, and it's going to work less than it's supposed to, right? So the way it's supposed to work is that the Mist hides itself from normal people with powers. The Mist hides your powers from other people with powers. So like these people wouldn't even realize half the shit that's happening. Like people might not even see vines when Zippy uses vines. People might not see the weird shit that Malcolm does, or the physical strength of Johnny, or any number of things. But that we do see it way more than we should because the Mist is broken. So I think that's interesting to see, like, if we fix the Mist and it goes back to full, how everyone, like, it's one of those like Matrix kind of things where you vaguely remember that you were a crow once, but it slowly begins to fade away, like an old memory, like a childhood memory. I think that's really interesting to see if that plays out in that direction.
Yeah. I don't want to forget that.
But it'd be dope.
Hold on to that memory so tight, Johnny. Don't you forget it.
He's going to become the villain.
About the way that the game's mechanics work in respect to theme books and the way that the Mist is supposed to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, the element that always surprises me is the relation of the number of mythos versus logos, and how aware you are about your own nature, your essential nature, and the nature of everybody else. And there's a fair bit of argument to say that the more time that you spend together, based on the way the book describes it, the more time that you'll maintain that relationship and have that group awareness. Like Johnny will remember, for as long as he's around Morrigan, Johnny's probably going to remember the fact that he became a crow.
Yep.
But if he gets separated for whatever reason, if Malcolm and Hyde go on, Malcolm and Johnny's, excellent adventure, also starring Charlie and Trendane, or Charlie and Cal. There is likely an element of that where he's going to lose some of that, or he may not retain all of it, and it may come back if he's with the Morrigan, and he's with Geo and he's with Cal.
I think of it like if you recall the movie Hook, when Peter Banning left Neverland, and then when he came back, he remembered nothing. And the whole first act of the movie is him remembering who he was and rediscovering the children and rediscovering his past and his history and like who he was at a core. That's kind of how I think about it. Like when the Mist comes back in full effect, it's going to be if it does, it's going to be in overhaul mode. So like you have to hold on like Alzheimer's to what the hell has happened with you.
Technically that's Act 2, but anyway.
So one person we haven't heard from yet, Meta. What threads do you want to be pulled?
All of them. No, well, yeah, I mean, all
what
of
a
them.
GM answer.
Priority wise, I'm very worried. Like, I had a moment after last week's episode, conflicted as a GM because I'm railroading my character a little bit into isolating herself away from the group, which is dangerous. But I'm doing that because that's her character. Like that is how she has to be. So, but again, the GM part of me is like, oh my God, like what the fuck am I doing? So I want to see that thread being pulled, and I want to like, it's very obvious to Morgan, which is why she hasn't really directly confronted anybody with the information she has about it. And what she did is because she knows it's not acceptable in a normal society. However, she is constantly being overruled by her other. She has 3 split personalities, and the only one that actually shares similarity to her logos is her fate, which is the most neutral of all of her other theme books. But when she's driven by rage, that part that doesn't work with now modern society anymore is what starts to take over and is what's pushing her logos away. And so I'm very curious to see that thread being pulled. And what, Johnny was talking about in our conversation is that there's going to be personal story elements there that could seriously impact that. So I want to see that. I also really want to see Gepard's story come to fruition and like find that conclusion that he's looking for, because I think it's going to mean some really serious consequences to his character, his mythos especially. And like I agree with what you were saying, is I think it's going to put him Avatar, to be honest with you, or at least partially. So
there's also some low-key like running against the clock that we really haven't stressed up there, but like there's only a matter of time before that like construct that's been left in jail for Gepard is discovered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like if it's Roz, right? No, who's Flora? Is Flora, right? That's investigating.
Flora's on our team.
Yeah. Well, if she keeps prodding at that with Morgan, well, Derek, who will then in turn with Morgan, Morgan's be like, well, I guess I'm going to go to the fucking prison and find out what the hell's going on. And then, you know what I mean? So like the more she pushes, the more paranoid Morgan is, because in one of her backstory pieces is that another criminal escaped from jail. And like, that's a big triggering point for her, is like, that whole element, if that becomes something for her, if there is a crossover episode and she knows that Gepard isn't in jail, there's going to be a serious come to head conflict immediately when she sees him. So that's going to be an intro. I like that the story can weave itself there, and those are the two big threads that I want pulled for sure, because from a narrative perspective, it's a really great storytelling segment. And I want to see characters evolve. So like, I think Morgan and Gepard are probably the most aware and conscious of their mythos, as far as like embracing what we have the ability to do. Whereas a lot of, in my opinion, this is obviously my only observation, is a lot of other people are kind of shying away from using their powers in a openly obvious way. Where Morgan is like, she'll do it in front of people, but it looks subtle. Like most of her stuff is subtle, with the exception of this one very serious part of her mythos that she can't show to other people, which is why she doesn't have strong relationships with individuals. And so it's I'm really curious to see how everyone's characters will develop, because Johnny's still a kid. He doesn't get it. Like he's like, I can do these things. I've always been able to do these things, but he doesn't know why. And then we have Geo, who is distrusting, but there's definitely, especially after last week's episode, there's definitely something there that Morgan really wants to prod at. The therapist, her logos in her is like, what? She's super curious. The Morgan herself doesn't give a fuck, but
yeah,
the logos.
Morgan's like, all right, well, something's wrong with him.
Yeah. So definitely on my crew. And then I love everybody's character role playing, so I'm like I'm just curious about everybody. I think that there's a lot of really cool elements that have yet to be explored, so yeah.
I try to use my powers openly as possible. Like he flips a truck in front of all of these cops. He runs across rooftops and creates giant, like Tarzan thick vines to other rooftops and stuff. But no, he does shy away from one part of his mythos, and he doesn't want to kill. Yeah. So you're right.
It makes sense that you three though are the ones that are like the most in tune with your mythos, because you three are also like the murderers, right?
Hey.
I'm a spirit of vengeance, okay?
I am cleansing the world of distrustful.
That's one of those red flag words that like trigger me. Like we're gonna cleanse the world. Oh, bro. Okay.
See, I've had before we jump to Johnny, I've had conversation with Loke about Malcolm and his shit. But that's part of what I'm intrigued about, to see how Johnny plays up, and if it happens. Like I'm totally fine with it not happening. The Malcolm backstory, because if you know Malcolm's mythos, there's a dichotomy between like the happy fun version that you see in like all the movies and like how it really was, and there is a very dark side of that character, which is very interesting, which is part of what was happening. So that's I don't think it's going to come up in story wise, but we were talking about earlier how some of the other kids remember people that Malcolm doesn't remember, and that's because the mythos gets rid of the children, and it like makes everyone forget, which is kind of interesting. So
I'm just gonna point this out. You keep revealing things when they're perfectly wonderful plot elements that were in play.
They're fine. They can still be in play. We're all amazing role players.
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the audience.
There's people watching, Mike.
You're just
spoiling everyone.
spoiled.
They'll still watch. That's what they're here for.
I
So
space out
everybody
when I
just
space out when
redact
Mike
the
talks.
last 5 minutes. Redacted.
Yeah, rewind it. We'll edit it live.
Redacted.
But yeah, I think it's cool to see if a dark
God.
Malcolm kind of comes out. I think it's kind of cool.
I mean, like, everyone knows your mythos. Like, it kind of was given away in episode 2, I want to say.
Hello, imagination equals obvious.
Well, I mean, like, by the end, because
When I
like,
shouted the
he
crow
could have been
call.
Barney the fucking dinosaur for all I know.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah,
he was
the crow
like,
call
"Ah!"
was for sure, yeah.
And I was like,
that kind of gave it
oh.
away.
yeah.
I mean, like, if you
That's okay.
know that mythos or that lore, Peter Pan actually is super dark.
Yeah.
When you get into it, I remember there was an animated series way back in the day, and it was all about like him fighting Captain Hook, and he had like a brown outfit on. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Yeah.
But the end of that show was him, and he's like, oh, the only way I can kill Hook is if I become older, and drew the wrinkle lines on his face, and he became older.
Yeah.
And he went back to go kill Hook. Which I was like, dude, that shit's dark. I was like fucking 8, and I was like, well, fucking great. Now I know about life. Let's do this shit.
I mean, if you look at, I think, I'm not a big Once Upon a Time fan.
I drew a lot of it from Once Upon a Time.
But my girlfriend is.
You don't say.
She makes me. She doesn't make me. She implies that I should watch Once Upon a Time with her. But yeah, no, like when I'm thinking dark Peter Pan, I'm definitely thinking.
Yep, that's exactly where that would go.
I will be drawing him.
That, and if you look at the
It's
original,
all your reference art.
Yep, it's like like 99% of my reference art.
Yep.
And if you look at like the original story, it says like, oh, what happens when the boys get too old? And there's literally like a line in the book that says, oh, sometimes I have to thin the numbers. And like. And that's how vague it is. You're like,
yeah.
What the hell does that mean? You're 13. What does thin the numbers mean? Where are the bodies?
You gotta think about like the Brothers Grimm fairy tales. Hello.
Yeah.
Like
I actually took that as he thins the number, he exiles them, and then they become pirates.
Yeah. Or he kills them, which is how some people interpret it.
Well, I mean, like he would kill them if they do become pirates, because that's how the pirates are always there, because he's always feeding them more and more, and it's like like an economic
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Maybe they become skulls.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What?
No way. You don't think those are the pirates, do you?
I had that theory. I thought the skulls, like in my head, I think the skulls are pirates, like secretly in my head. The alley cats are the aristocrats. And
the alley cats are the worst gang. I love it, but they're like the anti-gang. It's like, we're a gang. We're gonna kidnap people, but we're also gonna steal things and give people milk. And it's like,
I have a question for you, Johnny. Refresh my memory.
No.
When Black Star and everyone else fought with the beasts, who won? The girl or Bear?
Bear.
Back to girls and bears again? Are you serious?
I thought we were done with this.
Yeah, I thought we were past this.
Because I don't remember. So originally, before 6 and 20, this started at all, there was a 4-shot miniseries on Johnny's channel, which I didn't think was connected to this game at all until we had our for our second 1-shot for the charity stream, and Johnny said, "Here's your old character. That's who you're playing." And I was like, "Okay." So now, what's the cop's name? Devereaux, Catherine Devereaux.
Yep.
Catherine Devereaux's little brother is a rift in the game, which is interesting. But I forget who did the heroes side with on that outcome, because the girl was trying to do one thing and the beasts were trying to do the other thing.
The heroes sided with the beasts. if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
Which is interesting because of what was happening in that place.
Right. But the woman was doing all the murdering.
Yes. Yeah. But the beasts were trying to summon something in
Right.
the
And then once they sided with the beast and they took care of the woman, they then desecrated the altar, and the beast never came.
Okay, so it never did come. Okay.
It tried to enter the world but didn't. Now there's
Yeah.
an interesting thing I need to talk to Trindane about, because that beast is actually directly related to some element of his mythos.
Ooh.
Satan.
Because we keep
What?
going back.
No.
Goat
He's
legs,
talking about-
horns. He just needs a tail and a pitchfork.
It's nature Satan.
Oh.
Same but
PETA.
different. Yes.
Cornudos.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, God.
Oh, so Johnny, what's the thread you want to see the most? Don't say all of them, you shit.
I already said that. I
I know.
The entire
Versus-
tapestry.
Yeah, Johnny doesn't want to see any of the threads.
Yeah, he wants us
He wants
to end.
everyone to die.
No.
Honestly, at this point, I just want the main thread to be pulled more.
Okay.
That's really the only one.
Which is the
because-
main one.
Well, but because here's the thing, right? You guys are 4 episodes in. You guys are pulling some amazing threads. There's a lot going on. Team, quote unquote, Lazarus, whatever they're calling themselves this week,
Ah, damn.
is
team of
pulling
the
the
week.
least- Right. Well, yeah, it's changed weekly, so I'm still waiting to hear what it's going to be next week. You guys are pulling very.
That's the
personal-
final name.
I'll believe it when I see it, on, typed, in the title of the show, kind of a thing. Anyway,
Fair enough.
Tuesday is definitely pulling stuff that's the content that's older. Thursday is definitely pulling majority of the major plot thread, but there's still so many interesting, personal elements that are getting thrown into this, right? And it's unexpected because there's so much more that's planned once this main thread gets solved. And I don't feel like I can introduce all of those other elements until the world gets established in this particular way. So I'm looking forward to just seeing that thread pulled. But that being said, I don't want to rush you guys because it's all fucking amazing, and I have some really nasty plans for a couple of the characters already because of it.
Yep. Mhm.
Great.
Not looking at Morgan
I
at
can
all.
feel it.
Not
Let's
looking
be
at her at
honest
all.
though, like that was obvious when I wrote her backstory that she was going to be a huge
Right,
negative
but
Problem child.
area.
TNT knows drama.
in a good way.
I did not think about how significant it was going to be until we started connecting Gephardt and Flora into the conversation.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the plan in my head, it always jumped out as the plan once I read your backstory.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm also looking forward to exploring the crossovers because of the creative ideas that have come up just based on the interactions and everybody watching the show. So
Yeah.
but if I had to pick one, it's definitely the main plot thread because I want that to get resolved so that the larger world elements can really begin to come into play.
hmm
I
That's
like
interesting.
that.
I think you actually said from the beginning that this investigation you were expecting it to be 3 episodes and then we'd get to the real story.
The real story.
Yeah,
And
that's
I think
exactly
that
what I
we
said.
have
Actually.
drawn this one out in a very good and interesting way. That we've been telling a story in much more real time, which is awesome.
I think to be fair though, I think a lot of that is attributed to us getting used to playing in the system. Because the reason why I think we're exploring the personal pieces and the power tags so much is because we've never done any. This is a unique system because it's so focused on storytelling. It's so focused on the prolonged effect, the cinematics. It's not.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I mean?
agree. I mean, I played Fate. This is kind of like Fate, but it's
Yeah.
also not like Fate. So it's I was unaware that it was a race to the finish line when it comes to teams like Day 4 and Day 1. So it's nah, man, I'm
It's not
just
necessarily a race to the finish, but it's a little so.
It is for me. I just want to put that out there.
I respect that. I mean, competitiveness between 3 crews is definitely a big part of it. We saw that with
Esper wins.
with Blaze in the Dark, but
Hashtag Esper. I think Esper for the win.
you guys have the
Say it, John.
weirdest shard of Alara. You guys have I'm gonna keep saying that every time you say Esper. That's all it makes me think is Shard of Alara artifact plane. Great.
Speedy, you can have this one. Shroud 1 blades. You can have this one.
Shrouded One Blades, Phantom One Blades.
We became gods.
But who
Yeah,
was
but we
left
became
with the
D&D
legacy of the
adventurers.
world?
What's that?
Who was left with the legacy of the world?
To fix it.
Our children.
Normal ass people.
To lead it. You guys walked on to the next plane.
Fucked up right off.
Squad goals. We left Milestone in charge.
Anyways, so I agree with the whole narrative elements of that there's a lot more to explore, but there's a condensed amount of framework that the game applies as a counter, which is the idea of a case or an investigation, right? And so these plot elements keep coming up. Everybody was so excited about their backstories that they started exploring elements of their backstories before they even got finished thinking about this first investigation, which is why things are happening in real time in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But also that's sort of normal for how a noir setting would go, right? Any noir film is basically, condensed into a number of hours or a short period of days. So
Yeah, and we're still on day of day 2, not even night of day 2. So
Right.
we got time.
Well, Thursday crew time jumped, so that happened.
Is
We're
there
still on day 3.
is there going to be a time jump where you want to have all the crews be on the same day?
it would. So the investigation is definitely when whoever cracks the case, whoever gets to the end,
Thursday crew.
Yeah.
gets to that, there will be some settling of circumstances, and time will kind of normalize it in a lot of ways, and things will things will progress, right? Like I said, one of the reasons that we started this in the way that we did was so that everybody would be on the same page, but that will start to shift a little bit once that initial case is going, right? Or once that initial case is gone and the larger world has been established. There are 3 different story threads that I can throw at you guys once you guys get out of this common thread. I wanted a central starting point of giving you all the same basic premise and watching you guys go in very different directions. And that's exactly what's happened. I mean, let's be completely honest. Wednesday Crew is killing it at not doing anything like they should be doing.
I want to point out that the reason that that's happened is because
Malcolm?
I expected. Well, here's
Malcolm?
the thing. Well, that, but also, I think both me and Mike created characters maybe honestly the whole crew created characters expecting for other people to like pull on the main threads and to like pull us along, and no one's doing that. But I personally have not been able to like figure out what threads to pull for the main story, so I just wildly like jump at whatever thing I can with JP.
Yeah, like when you said that the main thread was the 3 sisters, I was like, but the 3 sisters have very little to do with the giant body that the bodies that I were to throw. Well, not very little, but like immediate wise, it all links back to Sable going after Lily, and then
Does it?
well, to me, that's what I'm taking from it. It's like, okay, so it's that's why I jumped on the Sable train, because it was like,
But who hired Sable?
we haven't found that yet because nobody fucking let Henry talk to Sable. It's like, let me talk to Sable. I'll die. I'll kill you if you don't let me talk to Sable.
Let me give you a little bit of a connecting tissue here. So, Sable was there. There was a problem, right? There was something going on, or at least you think that that's what you think that was the situation, that she was involved because she's connected to the Alley Cats. What were the Alley Cats actually doing there?
They were escorting one of the sisters away. Yeah.
Why was Lily there?
Because she's friends with one of the sisters.
Are you sure about that?
If I'm remembering correctly, she was there. All right. Well, I'm not remembering.
He was there to see her. That
entire episode, I was everyone was like roboticking, so I only got it.
No,
Lily Chow.
Lily Chow. Yes.
I mean,
There's a connection between all of them.
No, yeah, I'm not saying that there's not a connection. I'm just saying that's the reason why I jumped on the Sable train, because it was the first thing that was put in front of me. And
I have
went
an
for it.
actual mind map between all of the things that have happened so far. So just,
Sweet.
I'm very curious. I think you should post
Nerd
that.
alert.
I was thinking about actually revealing it to Derek. And then in turn, I was just going to give you a copy of it. So you can show it on screen if you wanted to.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
I think we should talk about doing that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, like, because I always think about, like, where each team is going. And I feel like Wednesday Crew is very much like, hey, what's going on with ourselves, right? And then Tuesday Crew is pulling the Sable path, which, and I think Thursday Crew is most definitely was just like, there's 3 missing sisters. Where are they? You know, like, and that's because nothing else mattered, because Johnny doesn't know about the fucking past. You know, he doesn't, like, Geo and Cal are very much like, oh, this might be all really connected, you know, like deep down. Johnny's just like wants to find that missing sister, because he literally says it in the show, she was nice to me. And then Morrigan wants to bring justice.
Yeah. Morrigan's motivation should be pretty obvious as to why she's diving into this, but I'll let you guys figure that out.
Yeah.
Justice.
If it's not
Cal and Geo, or at least for Geo I can speak to, it's like we were both kind of dragged into this. Like it was a pure coincidence that we were in a coffee shop when bad shit happened, and then we were at a party and bad shit happened. We were like, well, shit, bad shit keeps happening, and it seems like we're not going to be able to get away from it. Which was something that Flicker during the one shot had told us, was that basically like this is going to catch up to you in some way or another. And so like because of that, we both basically kind of dived headfirst and were like, well, if someone's kidnapping the sisters, then it seems like whatever is dragging us into this, whatever strings of fate are involved here, they want us to do this. Which Geo's very reluctant about, because his main motivation, I would say, is being able to have some control over his life. That's all he really wants. And so like following that fate is like, it's hard for him, and like the reason that he's doing it is basically not because he cares that much about finding the sisters, but he cares about why he is being tasked to do this and how he can stop.
Yeah,
that's why he's being tasked to do this, or why is he tasking himself? Because he seems interesting thing about Geo, right? Is that we haven't really kind of gotten to the depth of who Geo is, right? We're seeing snippets of it, we're seeing his life, but the first time that we got something that wasn't the calm, cool sort of bartender character was when Morrigan changed him into a freaking crow, and he had this completely negative reaction to that experience.
Yeah.
Right. So we learned a little bit about his not his humanity, but his sense of identity and what happens when it's taken away from him.
Well, psychologically speaking, Geo needs control, and he doesn't have it, which is why he freaked the fuck out with the crow thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the kind of main motivation for it. I've been thinking about this like a lot. Like I spent a lot of time like today like trying to like hone in on like why I thought that seemed like the appropriate response, how it ties back to my backstory, and like what specifically did I write in my backstory, and what haven't I written in my backstory that would play into that more. Like why did that event in the past make him so overly sensitive to something like this? Because I really wanted to get to the bottom of it and be able to kind of justify it more, and so that like the next time something like it comes up that I'll be able to address it more fully. Because I feel like I didn't get to do that. I feel like I was kind of it kind of stopped short at a certain point where it could have been expanded upon more. But we'll get to that soon.
I just continue to leave everybody speechless with all of my actions.
I like thinking of this as like a TV show, right? Like we saw into that, right? And so during the next episode, like you like Game of Thrones is kind of famous for doing this, as well as like most TV shows, where they're like they have that snippet, like the cold open, where they show what happened in the episodes before and how they are going to relate to this future episode, you know? So such as like, so how I think about it is that like when we delve into that episode, like the beginning intro of that episode is going to have that freak out moment where and like we're not full on frontal like going into like our character's backstory, which I really like, because then like it draws out the character and we're able to build that character, because I built Johnny to be a character that has a lot of growth and potential for growth. And so and I like that nothing's really been revealed about him other than like he's a kid that works at his dad's arcade shop, and you know he's a student and he just showed up, and nothing's been really revealed about that. And when that moment happens, it's gonna be fucking crazy because of just how I wrote it, and it really will have a develop in the future, and that's why I like Johnny as a character right now. And I think Gio's kind of going along that way. We don't know much about Gio. I'm always like, what the fuck is Gio? Like, who the fuck is Gio? And then he has a freak out moment, and I'm like, who the fuck is Gio?
Yeah, that's interesting, because Gio's one of the few mythos that hasn't really been revealed yet too, which kind of makes sense, because I think that his mythos as what he is like isn't particularly powerful. Like I didn't choose a mythos who is like a literal like god or anything like that, so it's not something that'll be overly obvious from his like powers, and they're not going to come up that often. What it plays into more is the personality of his mythos, and which is something that is much more general and hard to hone in on. And I think that that's kind of playing into part of why he's like continuing on this investigation too, and like trying to uncover what's been going on here.
Yeah, I think our crew is really like, there's a lot of like social aspects. Like Morrigan can fight, but really like the go-to right now is like throw Johnny at it and see what happens.
Well, nobody knows that Morgan can fight.
I mean, we're all out of character right now.
Definitively, nobody knows that Morgan can fight, and also nobody's confronted her. And I talked about this last time. Nobody, like even Cal, for whatever reason, maybe out of fear, he's not directly going to her and being like, "You killed that man," and blah. Like there's no confrontation yet. So I'm waiting for that to happen, because I know it's going to have to happen at some point, whether it's through Cal or somebody else. So yeah.
So. I want to hit on something that Loke just said. The way you said that this is like a TV serial, right? And the TV shows start with the previously on, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And it will take like snippets from 4 episodes ago because it's relevant this episode, right?
Right.
I love that. That's something I try to use in my games. But this game has a specific thing that is a mechanic that is supposed to do that. Not even the flashback. There's actually a session start move you make at the beginning of every session. One character does a voiceover monologue. You can see it in the book if you guys buy it on Sonbook, 620 fan. So basically what it is you choose one character. I mean, really the master assemblies can do it however the hell they want, right? But one character does a voiceover monologue. So starting next episode for Esper, that would be a great time for Gio to have a voiceover monologue, because he's not fucking okay with what just happened. So it would be his internal dialogue of like, what the hell just happened? Like him justifying his actions, or him coming to terms with the fact that he was just a literal crow and not just some flare of the unknown, right? Like this little, you just became a bird, and that is hard to reconcile with a normal person's head. So like that's a cool element to slide in there, that you can have a short voiceover monologue and just go to town explaining that, without taking anything away from the story and just zooming right into it. So you do your monologue of what happened last episode, how you feel about it, and then whoop, seamlessly integrate into the story, which I think is a cool thing that they've added as a mechanic.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yep.
I must have missed it.
Yeah, for those of you with the
We haven't
book,
done that yet.
it's on page 265.
265.
Those of you following along with the show.
Yeah, those of you following along in the
Please
book.
turn your books to
To
265.
265.
Another good show that does that kind of prologue is Supernatural.
I was going to say Supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Boom.
Carry on
It's-
my way,
well,
it's
no,
on.
that's the season wrap up. I'm talking about
Oh yeah.
like at the beginning of each show,
Mhm.
it's like then, and then it's kabam, bam, bam, all right in your face, and then it says now, and that's when the show starts.
Well, if you look at it, every single show on CW does the same thing. Flash, Arrow,
Mhm.
Supernatural, Wonder Girl,
Well,
Supergirl, they all do the same stuff.
Flash and
Riverdale.
Supergirl
Riverdale.
and Legends of Tomorrow
Yep.
Oh, here we
all
go.
are formulaic from Arrow,
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
which is
Which is a terrible
CW's.
show.
Hold up.
Which is
CW's
formulaic.
try. It's CW's redemption for Smallville. Smallville was good.
Right, but
Wait a
all of them
second.
follow the same formula of the last 12 years of
Yes.
Supernatural.
Yeah.
So
Arrow season
their
1
flagship.
we were good. Everything else sucks.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that right
Yeah, no,
now.
I agree. But I just generalized to Arrow's not worth watching at any point.
But there was actually, I forget how long ago it ended, but there was a blog written by Chris Perkins called The Dungeon Master Experience. It used to be on the old D&D website. You can still find it on the new D&D website, but he has a blog where he talks about his homebrew world and how he runs sessions. And there's one blog post that's literally about running episodic campaigns. And I read this in like 2012, and I was like, "Oh, that makes so much more sense than what I'm doing." And he does the intro, and he also uses the intro as a trigger word. It's like, you know, when you're having like an at-home game when everyone's kind of chilling and talking and bullshitting. We'll take Chosen for example. McLogan, your show started yesterday, and there was like a good 10 minutes of everyone just joking around and having a good time and fucking off.
Mhm.
And that happens at every game ever. And he says previously on the show. And that's when you know, oh, it's time to play now. And then everyone kind of quiets down and they're like, okay, cool, let's go.
That's what
rock
I
and roll.
want to happen.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
does not happen.
Right.
it's
but
the,
he
it's the
uses-
habit you have to put into your
Yeah.
players. Though,
So
'cause
he
that's
uses
what I
that
do
as,
too.
you're right, exactly. So he uses that as the trigger word, and then you use it. You can do the same thing as the TV show does. If like something happened 3 episodes ago, and that action is somehow going to be relevant in this episode, do a callback to that. Play out a verbal scene of what happened in your recap.
I
because it's
actually
relevant today.
I like that. I like having a little bit of a recap, you know, of a snippet that happened a couple sessions ago, because that's like, okay, so in this episode, we should really make the focal point this. We can go off and go and do our own thing, but the focal point should try to follow this a little bit.
It's
Right.
kind of like directing the players without forcing them down a path. The
I
problem
yeah.
is that
You want
shiny.
improv.
well, not even
Yeah.
improv is like what you were saying. You say
Yeah.
one thing a little bit too detailed, and it's off
Yeah.
they go. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Nope,
it.
that you are absolutely correct. I am shiny.
Yep.
That is
Yep.
shallot in a nutshell. There's a box of hallucinogenic mushrooms there.
yep,
Well, that's the
Okay.
thing. It's like, so there's a subtle art to it, right? So like, you can't just do it right now.
Yeah.
You can't jump in and say, we're doing a
No.
recap now. And then, because now it's gonna be like, oh, everyone's gonna be like, oh, we're doing a recap now. But if you do it and then you slowly start to slip in things from previous episodes that are
Yeah.
relevant, it happens where like no one even knows. They get used to the recap, and then they're like, oh yeah, no, this is just a recap. So they like 99% of the time they'll miss the callback, but chat won't. Someone will catch it.
I love systems that force that in. Now, I know City of Mist has it, but another game that I played was Mouse Guard. And Mouse Guard has previously on Mouse Guard, where you go and you say, okay, on our last session, this is what we did. And the reward for doing that is you can recover one of your conditions that have various things that happen to the game. You know, I think
Only if you do a good job.
whatever the GM says.
Yeah.
That's what the rules say.
Well, it's like whatever it says what the rules are, but the rules are guidelines. The GM is law.
True.
yeah.
I tell that to everybody who's going to start
Yep.
D&D. GM, law, rules, guidelines. If you rule lawyer or GM, I'm going to smack you with the rule book.
Yep.
You
'Cause
haven't
I
met
hate
my friend David then.
I hate rule lawyers. It's just like, stop it. Just let it happen. You know?
I have been
Fuck
arguing arguments with this particular person since we were 13 years old. I'm just saying, 30-year-old arguments get real old real quick.
Mhm.
Those rule lawyers, especially from first edition, they're passionate about what they want to talk about.
What do you mean? You're throwing out this spell 60 feet in front of you. He's just right next to you. It's just like, shh, shh, shh. You don't have a bit of fleece. Okay, you know what? I'm going to have a magical talking freaking sheep here, and I'm going to rip fleece from it.
It's Baba Black
So
Sheep.
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about what you guys are talking about. There's an approach that I subscribe to, and it's a literary approach, right? It's Chekhov's gun. If I describe it, I'm describing it for a reason, because it needs to be there, right? It's an element that you can grab, you know. And the concept of that struck me really early on when I got back into tabletop after being away for 20 years. I love the idea of just being able to just drop things for you, and you pick whatever, and I've got something that I can do with that. What's interesting is that most often I'm the one who's actually struggling, because the players will go off in a direction that I hadn't even anticipated, and then I'm the one I'm improving, 50% of the time because of that, right? Blades in the Dark, our Blades in the Dark 6 and 20 game is the perfect example of that. Maybe about 25% of the game went as even remotely as I expected. 75% of it was improv, for the very specific reason that the players went, you know what? No, I'm going this way. And they went, 170. They didn't even go 180 degrees. They went 170 degrees. So there's a tangential element to what it was going to happen. But
because, in the end, they're just, if they go off on a different route because their character would not knowingly follow this line, and they're going that way to see if they can find a way around it,
right,
that's fine. But if, like, I feel like in games where it's like, we're gonna go this way, and then all of a sudden say, well, so we're just going off that way.
Well, so here's another thing, and this is where it starts getting out of normal City of Mist, and starts getting out of talking about this, the show, and we start talking about GM mechanic, or GM versus players, and how things are supposed to go, and what's the best for the player versus what's best for the player group, versus what's best for the game versus what's best for the show, right? Those are all, we don't have enough time to really kind of go into all of that. I will say this, at the end of the day, all of those things are important whenever you make a decision when you're playing on stream. You should be thinking about what your character would do. You should be thinking about how it affects your group. You should be thinking about how it affects your game. And then you should be thinking about how the audience is going to perceive it. Those are the 4 important elements that you need to be focusing on. And 9 times out of 10, when players go and they said, I want to go do this, and they're on a show like this, they're not thinking about that. So that's where we end up with so much improv. And I have no problem with it. Mike, Speedy, and I talked about this for a long time, and I just ran with it and adapted. But it is an important element that you need to think about, because, going back to our story here, Wednesday Crew is the best example of it. They are picking their own plot threads more than they are picking the main plot thread. And I have no problem with that. But it does mean that their progress against what Thursday is doing, which has the most advancement in respect to that plot. If they want to measure themselves, they're third place. Let's be completely honest. They're definitely third place.
Thursday is sticking to the main quest line, pounding it out. Wednesday is going off on side quests before they touch the main quest.
Oh no, you're creating your own quests. You're not even touching the side quests.
And Tuesday is like, oh, this is the main quest, and then it's like, wait, no, this is a side quest, and then they're like, well, we're too far into it now. Let's keep going.
Going along with the Dark Brotherhood, that seems legit.
So what I'm hearing is you guys logged into the PvE server, and Wednesday logged into the roleplay server. We're just winging it.
I want to make a comment about.
And Thursday is going to be in the PvP server.
Soon.
About to be, yeah. But no, I want to make a comment about that. This is something we touched on in actually on a Mythdon derailment, was that there's an issue with seasoned players on metagaming, and it's a massive thing that you have to be so conscious of. And I have a very big do not metagame kind of strict policy in my games. If somebody actually forcibly does it, I will privately after the fact will be like, okay, so you obviously did something against your character's nature. Like that was definitely a personal decision, not a character decision. So it's a conversation that you unfortunately might have to have with some people. Again, it's more frequent with seasoned players because it's a subconscious behavior a lot of the time, but that comes back to your role playing, which means that you need to be in character. And if it's against what your character would do, you have to actually justify that. Otherwise, you're metagaming. So I know that seems like very black and white, but it oftentimes, like I see it most often with D&D, back to people who are very obsessive around rules. With Call of Cthulhu, it only happens for people who really know the lore. And if they hear something that's suspect to a mythos that they know, it's an instantaneous red flag, run the fuck away. But for a normal character, they might not know how dangerous that is. And so they might not run away right away. So it's that's where I'm talking about, like from a metagaming perspective, is it can be very dangerous to a narrative.
So you can see that live too on, was it last Wednesday, Johnny?
Yeah.
It was last Wednesday. Last Wednesday, you could see that live happen. Like I said, I take the phone and I call Calvin. And Johnny's first question was, why would Malcolm do that?
Yeah.
I immediately had an answer why Malcolm would do that.
Yes.
And that sufficed the DM. He was like, yep, sure, that doesn't sound like metagaming. You're good to go. Do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I jump back to Shallot because I love Shallot. I always bring him into things, but he's the character that would go, like, I know that is a five-headed dragon. You know, I know that's Tiamat. Shallot would go over there and fight it. He wouldn't run away. You know why? Because I know that that's dangerous, but Shallot just goes right in, says fuck it. You know, as I specifically also made a mechanic, his companion, putting him in those situations. Ramsey constantly is like, hey man, you see that hill giant over there? Yeah. I want you to go hug it. That seems kind of dangerous. No, man. They love hugs. You need to go over there and you need to go give him a hug. You know, it's all because Ramsey secretly wants Shallot dead, so Ramsey can go back to being a normal sheep instead of a demonic empowered sheep. But
poor sheep.
Yeah, poor sheep.
I'm definitely with that. I have like a slightly different philosophy when it comes to, I don't know if I would even call it necessarily like metagaming, but frequently I, for myself, don't worry so much about trying to keep the knowledge bases like strictly separate. But for me, it's all about if I'm going to use out of character knowledge to inform something to do with my character, it's like my first thought is, okay, how does this thing I know about out of character, like how can I use this to get my character into a dramatic and interesting situation for the story? And then I go from that to looking at my character sheet to being like, all right, how can I have this character logically bumble into this thing that I might out of character know, but I just think it'll be interesting story-wise to have this character end up kind of bumbling into it.
And that was a lot of what we did in Blades in the Dark. It's like we did a lot of metagaming in that sense, where it's like there's no reason for me to do this character-wise. Let me justify it in a way that makes sense with the story, the narrative, and the lore, because it's going to be more fun cinematically to watch, to play, than it would be to not do that thing. Right. Like everyone's gonna have more enjoyment out of that than they would if I just didn't do it.
I mean, as long as you're not breaking the game, right?
Exactly.
Like there is a very specific line that you can't cross.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mike. Relevant to City of to Metropolis. We had a situation like that. Johnny said, "Look, I don't understand why Henry went to the Alley Cats and started all that shit. It didn't make sense to me. I understood, like, okay, Henry's going to fuck with the Alley Cats because one, he saw them try to kidnap a minor. He doesn't know why they're doing it, but he thinks that's wrong. 2, 3, that's, you know, he doesn't like gangs. He thinks they're a blight on the city. He thinks all gangs are bad. He has a prejudice against gangs. That's all was going in my mind, but I didn't I didn't telegraph that on screen. So audience were like, probably like, Henry's just going off on his own to go fuck with the alley cats. In my mind, I was like, I know exactly why the fuck I'm going there, because you know, I'm gonna get Sable, want to know why she's kidnapping kids, and I'm gonna kick her ass. But you know, so yeah, no, it's, I guess it's like kind of backwards, because I was trying to use character information to go do this, but I didn't telegraph it. So if you're going to do that, I guess I'm trying to think of how well I would telegraph that better to the audience. Like, this is Henry. He doesn't like gangs, you know?
Well, it's with that. There are interesting elements of the moves and the mechanics of the game that give you sort of some of that.
Yeah.
Other elements that come into play are the social interactions, like the character-driven stuff. And I think that in Blades is a great example. Whenever we were going up against something that was not an obvious choice for the characters, they did a phenomenal job in role-playing how to get to that point, right? In this situation where, you know, the players are still getting to know each other as a group, and the characters are kind of coming together, we're going to have those hiccups. And we did the same thing, you know, in Blades. It took us 3/4 of a season for both the original crews to come together and basically not only figure those dynamics out, work out those issues, but also the characters to kind of come together and do that. And we're going to see that same progression, you know, with the players and the characters in this particular game. The challenge is always doing that along with making sure that you're getting the mechanics right, and that, you know, you're representing the story in a way that the audience can really kind of appreciate. And that's always the challenge that's in my head, is the balance of all of those things at play so that the audience doesn't get lost.
Yeah, I think the big thing with metagaming, which,
see, you guys say metagaming, and I'm thinking of the rules of, like, you know, because what I also do is GTA 5 and Ark and whatnot, role playing and those kind of games. Metagaming is if Meta says, I'm going to be building here, I'm going to be setting up shop here, I have this planned out, I have these secrets, and then my character automatically goes around and starts spreading it. That's metagaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar kind of thing, right?
So like, you're using outside information in characters.
Yeah. So if you take this for example, if like Thursday crew or Wednesday crew rather, Wednesday crew had no idea that the Skulls were involved with the kidnapping that the Thursday crew is investigating. The only reason any of us knew that is because we watched the Thursday show.
Right.
Well, the Skulls were in my backstory, and narratively, I somehow, don't know how I did it, I accidentally convinced everyone to go investigate the Skulls. It ended with nothing. Like, we got no information out of it. But as long as you're, like, in my opinion,
we got some.
As long as if you're going to metagame something, as long as it fits the narrative and doesn't break the mechanics, right? So at no point did that break a mechanic and ruin anyone's fun, but it was definitely outside knowledge, but it was explained through narrative storytelling.
I usually stream on the days at the times that you guys do the City of Mist, so I have to go back and watch VODs. But I personally wait, like, if I wait a week, so at not like it would be this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the third Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I would go back and watch everything from 2 weeks ago. Mainly because I don't want to ruin anything that might pop up in the next set of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because I don't want that moment where it's like, I know this is bad. We're not going to do it, because I would like to, you know, be like, okay, Henry would go right into that, just headstrong right in, you know, instead of having that player pull me back saying, no. This is bad. This is gonna TPK everything.
Well,
you know,
what I think it comes down to is very rarely is using outside knowledge to encourage drama and enhance the game and the story. Very rarely is that going to be a problem. Where it starts to be a problem, from what I've seen, is when people use it to in some way elide the fun of the table, whether that's eliding a mystery, eliding a challenge,
It's
Or
the
giving them an unfair advantage, like
Right.
something that you wouldn't have had.
it's
But like those are all things that an inherent part of why we play the game is some aspect of the challenge, right?
Right.
As well as the story, there's a challenge to figuring out the mystery. And so if you're eliding that using out of game knowledge, it's not as fun. If you're using that out of game knowledge to enhance that mystery and to enhance the drama of figuring that out, tends not to be an issue, especially on the show.
and see the way that I do it is like if I feel like I know something out of character, I'm going to do the exact opposite. So it's like it's not that. Now that I know that the sisters are the main plot point, it's like I'm trying to like be like, okay, well, would Henry really go after the sisters, or would he be hell-bent on getting the information from Sable?
I mean, you know the answer to that question.
It would be he's going after Sable.
What that comes into, so I've role played for a super long time, and one of the things I learned how to do was not use out of character knowledge at all. I get in the mindset of my character, right? One instance I ran into this was one of my other D&D campaigns. I played a cleric of Saloon. His name was Chaplain, and he was sitting in front of a red dragon, and he held his shield in front of it, and he was like ready to fight this thing face first, right? What's the one thing you don't want to do when you fight a dragon?
Be in front of it?
Be the fuck in front of it. I known this since I was like in fucking like second grade, reading the second edition Monsters Manual. Oh, they fuck you up with fire breath, Chaplain didn't know that because he's never encountered a dragon, so he died. He literally died, and they had to revive him and shit.
I've played in games where I'm like, I'm going to stand right in front of that dragon. They're like,
yeah.
Are you sure you want to do that? Well, now that you're doubting me, yes, exactly. I do.
But I mean, like with so I watch the other shows before we get to our Thursday show. So like I don't use what the knowledge anyone else has, or is it really pertaining to what's going on in the with Thursday crew, which has been really awesome.
Yeah, we're on diverging paths going towards the same goal, which is what makes it as well.
So I mean, like with that, I mean, like it also like but the one me personally, I like it when I like see like, oh my god, that's something I did that they get to interact with, and I get the fun of that. It's very much like when you're playing a character, what you have to like, and as you said, what would that character do? Like what would Johnny do in that instance?
Yeah.
Is Johnny like? Because I think about like where are my next steps? What would Johnny do as a crow? That's where my mindset is, because he has everyone left him, and so he's a crow flying around. So he's gonna go do crow shit. Basically, he. What is he gonna do as a crow? Like where am I? Like one possibility I could go to is fly to the tower, the Acer building, and see if anyone's in the penthouse. B, he's gonna go investigate what the hell was flying above him and he noticed earlier, but he was on a mission, so he didn't focus on it. Or C, just fucking around as a crow, or like going investigating like a different part, and that's kind of mindsets I laid out before me, is like what am I gonna do, what's plausible for Johnny to do, because he's not gonna go to the funeral home and like transform and then be like, I want to talk to the leader, like, oh, who runs this shit show, he's not gonna fucking do that, because I see the typo, I know, okay. And so,
I'm not trying to ruin your flow. Keep going. That's why I typed it.
But yeah, so I mean that's the mentality of it. And like even if I have the out of character knowledge, I don't want to use that, because I don't, not necessarily that it make a less dramatic moment. It's just having that moment where your character has that realization that, oh shit, when I saw that from before, it's all piecing together. And he has that surprising moment. And there's a lot of times where Meta can contest to this. If I'm not in the scene, I am not paying the fuck attention because I don't want to know what the fuck's going on. I can like tune people out, and then I'm just like kind of like hanging out. And then,
you really are Mike's spiritual twin, aren't you?
because
See, I watch the last 45 minutes of Thursday, and I make up the rest of your episode.
The reason why I'm very strict about, you know, when I like tune into conversations that are happening over on other crews and whatnot is like, because I know myself as a moviegoer. I'll go watch a movie and I'll be like, babe, we need to go watch this movie. You know, I am the person who's like, oh, dude, this is a good part. What, dude, you know, oh, you're gonna really like this one. And it's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, so
watch this.
Exactly. So I gotta cover my mouth and be like, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
You know, she hasn't seen this movie. I'm gonna let her enjoy it, and then we go talk. Yeah, and exactly. So it's like, oh, I know this. I know this. I know what's going to happen, and it's like, I gotta pull myself away. That's why, like, even when if I do a stream where I'm playing a game that has a story, I will never ever play a game like a save off stream because I don't want to ruin it. You know, I don't want to be like, I know how to solve this puzzle. You know,
I mean,
I already know.
That's understandable, but I mean, like, I think we're all like on different paths where it's not really, they're not going to intertwine.
Yeah.
So, but it still comes down to each person. Like, if you can't control yourself because you know you get excited about something, fine. Like, you know, you do what you got to do.
Exactly. I'm just saying that's how I control myself when it comes to trying to avoid the whole meta conversation. You know. Like metagaming conversation, not meta conversation.
But I mean, it's a trick you have to learn over time. I mean, like, I started playing D&D in first grade, so a lot of experience like comes with that. Because, like, you know, I've been that character that was like, oh, I know what they're doing. Like, that's mini me. Apparently, sounds like Johnny, but like, I was more like, I want to do that. You know, that's what I sound like as a kid. And you know, and like, and they're like, why would you do that? You know, my buddy who's DMing, and I was like, oh, I'm psychic. I would make up shit, you know, and we're in first grade. We're fucking kids. I don't give a fuck, you know? But eventually, you know, as time goes on, it's not fun to play that way, you know?
No. I was the kid who had all the rule books, but nobody to play it with. So I would read all the system rule books and be like, this is great. Put it back on the shelf. Don't got a group to play with.
See, I'm the opposite, and Johnny hates me for it. I have all these books, and I don't read any of them, and then I still just play the game and read it as we go. I promise you, I've read less than any of you have out of the City of Mist book, but it's fine.
I disagree. I think I have probably read less.
I usually open the book and then I Control F, and I'm like, what am I looking for? Monologues?
I do the same thing. No, I don't read cover to cover.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like a textbook in college. You know, you look up what's relevant to you in that exact moment. You know how to start the equation. You know what you need for the equation, but you need to check on something. Let me open up that textbook. You know, so yeah, that's why, like, I tell people don't get married to the rules because the rules will change.
Yeah, rules are 100% guide only. Like,
I've played games with Grant Ellis, and I love his DM style. We did a campaign where every single episode he changed up the combat system.
Yeah,
like he was like, "We're going on a city siege." Yeah. Johnny was there. Johnny was playing in that game. We're going on a city siege. This is how it's going to happen. Nobody's like, well, technically, in D&D 5e, it says you have to roll for initiative, and nobody was like, fuck yeah, we'll do this. It's fun.
Yeah, Grant is very. I consider him very much the definition of a creator. He can come up with, he can take a tiny one word thing and create an entire world out of it in a few sentences. Like, that's how he is.
I went up to him. I said, he wanted to do his campaign setting that he was doing, and he was doing on Encounter Roleplay, and I was like, "Can I be a Minotaur? I really want to be a Minotaur." And he's like, "Okay." A Minotaur with 3 elven daughters that he's very protective about, and he's like, "You know what? I don't need to hear anymore. I love it. Let's do it." And now now that Minotaur is the mayor of a dwarven ghetto.
So I put a link in chat. Basically, that's Puffin Forest, fantastic animator, YouTuber guy. This one's about rules lawyering, and he does make a good point. There's like 2 different rules lawyers. One that's like actually like about the rules, which is fine. It's
they will argue and argue.
The argue person, the one that argues with the rules. That's the one that you're all getting mad about, because they'll argue to get their loopholes. Because the people who are very like strict about the rules, that's just the way they play. They're strict. They're like, no, generally they're DMs, and they're just like, that's not how it goes. But it's the person who argues. And I had a guy in our campaign. It wasn't my campaign. I was playing in this campaign. I was about like 15 or 16. He had a character named Stampy. Stampy is the bane. Stampy is the bane of my existence, because we're all playing normal characters, like normal 3.5 characters at this point. I was a halfling rogue. I was trying to become a shadow dancer. He played Stampy, the anamorphic elephant man. Who convinced our wizard to cast Enlarge on him, and he would jump around like the fucking Hulk all the time. And literally, that's what he was. He was the Elephant Hulk man. And it was a fucking nightmare, because like it imbalanced the party, where like the only thing that like we could fight would kill me instantly, and he would go fight it. So we're like, oh, I guess Stampy's gonna go fight it, so I'm gonna go hide. That literally what my character would go do, and he would become a shadow dancer, and then like later on he became a shadow dancer, and he would just.
I'm just gonna say that is the GM's fault, 100%.
Oh, it was, yeah, but fuck.
GM,
fuck whoever that GM was.
GM was like, sure, why not?
No,
but yeah, you're right. The rules lawyer that we're getting mad at is the person who sits there and argues with the GM.
Yeah, but that was that dude. He would argue, like if he played a gnome wizard that turned people to statues all the time, and he would argue every fucking rule. And I was just like, God damn it, man.
Yeah.
That's why I always ask the GM, it's like, what do I need to do this?
Yeah.
And then they will be like, well, roll this at a DC 45. It's like, can't do it. You're good.
That's one of the cool things that
the pro tip. Sorry, go ahead.
Blades. Oh, sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the cool things I remember reading in Blades, which I don't think we did for our series in it, but they have something called zero effect, which is basically like at a base, you doing this will do nothing unless you get a crit. And that's very unlikely. And then even then with a crit, it is then bumped up to limited effect. So it's like a neat way of like saying like, no, you can't really do this, or the odds of you doing this correctly are very low, and the consequences will be high.
Eric Vulgaris, I love when. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I want to say it's 10 o'clock our time, and I don't know what a lot of people are. I think we should start kind of wrapping it up now.
Okay.
As much as I love Eric Vulgaris,
well,
I mean,
let us finish this train of thought.
Okay,
and then we'll do a final.
Oh, I mean, I was just saying I like the way he DMs, because he goes with the idea of that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need a roll? No, it's a good idea.
No,
the rule of cool.
The rule of cool. Yeah, that's
Sam wanted to say something.
I do
earlier.
Oh, Sam.
No, Sam did.
Basically, the thing I was going to say is it's always fine to have rules concerns. Just bring them up after the game. Don't derail the game.
Yeah,
concerns.
especially in live stream. Oh my god.
Yep. It's the same thing I tell people when they're trying to learn a new board game is like, can you agree on this rule? No. Here's a D6, odds even, roll it.
We'll figure it out after the game.
Yeah, exactly. Don't make us waste 2 more hours while you piss and moan about the rules.
Yeah.
I'm a very strict like DM. Like I'll let if I see it plausible, I'll let it go. But I'm very like that military discipline where I'm like, no. I've had to use that a couple times in Chosen where I'm like, no, that does not happen.
Then to me, that's like, okay. No.
So let's wrap it up here, because I know we're gonna be here like 3 hours after the call, just talking to everyone. So basically, let's start with going around table. You guys already introduced yourselves to where you can find you and all that kind of stuff. What I want to hear is what team do you guys want to see teamed up here on Metropolis? And we're gonna start off with Sam.
Okay. The teams that I'm most interested in seeing are the Malcolm, Johnny, Charlie, and then either Gephardt or JP trying to wrangle the group. I think would be great. And then the other one that I think would be really good is Roz, Charlie, and Morgan, with Gephardt thrown in just to make, or I'm sorry, Roz, Flora, and Morgan, and then with Gephardt thrown in just to add extra chaos, because that team is pretty pure chaos incarnate as is.
Okay, Zippy.
Well, damn, Sam, you took mine. Jeez.
You can
Team
say the
Girl
same one.
Power.
Unanimous?
You guys don't all have to fucking vote on a different one.
I actually would like to see Morgan, Cal, Flora, and Henry, because of like Trent and I have like kind of talked briefly about like what would happen if Henry and Cal were in the same room. I also want to see how Morgan and Henry would butt heads, and I would like to see him kind of communicate with another person in the medical profession, because Flora's a mortician, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So
she also tangentially ties to both Meta's character and your character.
That also makes 3
which is kind of
doctors.
cool.
Because I'm also a doctor.
I mean, I'm a med student. I'm not
No,
a
I
doctor yet. I have no authority.
Fair enough.
Team Medical. Speedy.
Hashtag Team Med.
I mean, we've said it a lot, but I just really want to see the Johnny and Mal crossover. I just want to see that super show, because that just seems like so much fun. Also, I kind of just want to see Cal and how he would interact with everyone. Just
Cal's the roaming character.
Yeah.
Well, oh God, I'm trying to think of. He's the who's the chick from the Marvel Netflix universe?
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones?
Oh no, the nurse.
The nurse.
Oh
nurse.
yeah.
Night nurse.
Oh.
Well, I mean, he's cooler than Night Nurse, but I mean, Night Nurse gets around with everybody, but whatever.
Whoa, buddy. Whoa.
Still sounds like Cal.
Okay. Unmade Gaming.
I want to see, obviously, the Johnny Malcolm show, but I would like to round that show out with JP and Cal. I think Cal would have zero interest in controlling Johnny and Malcolm. I think JP would try to, but he would have to fend off all of Cal trying to hit on him the entire time, which would be hysterical. It'd be hysterical, and he would be the most uncomfortable, because it would be assumed that one of him has slept with Cal at some point, and that would leave Malcolm and Johnny free to do whatever the hell they wanted.
And that's a great question. So you say that, but I wonder if Roz has slept with one of JP's clones, with the perpetual bad dater.
Yo, what up?
I saw Johnny just go that dawning moment where he's like, "Oh shit."
That's a question for the salty ginger.
Yo! Fly Bandito, how's it going? So okay, now we're gonna go to Meta. What team do you want to see?
I'm not gonna repeat anything anybody has said. So another team that I would really like to see, I think, is gonna be Henry, Morgan, Flora, and who was it? I was thinking about it earlier and I was switching between 2 people. I either. Oh wait, you guys already said gift art, so I'm not going to say that one. I'm gonna go with Cal again on this one because Cal has this like chaos element of complete unpredictability while still being predictable, but very unpredictable at the same time. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
So, just curious, does everyone know who Flora's mythoid is?
I do.
I am more.
But I'm not going to say it. It's not mine to give away.
We're not going to spoil it.
We're not going to say it. No, we're not going to say it.
Yeah. Because the secondary element of that character, I think, would be cool with that pairing you just said, Meta.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
That's true. That's why I was thinking for, because if we got her during the daytime.
It'd be a very different
shot. Which is great. Yep. Because if Henry and that version of Flora, and then there's the Morgan and Cal who already distrusts her, it's very
or that side of her might persuade Cal.
I was thinking about, because he was like, I wonder what my entourage ability would do with Henry's ability of like when he loses control, his vines have thorns. I was like, what if it just flips it? So when Henry's calm, he has the thorns, and when he's enraged, it doesn't have the thorns. That freaks out Henry, and that enrages him, and then I don't know. It would just be chaotic. It'd be pure chaos, and I would love it.
Okay, Johnny, who would you like to see?
So, you guys have touched on the various elements of what I'd like to see, but I'm going to set it also with a little bit of a premise in respect to the time period. I would like to see Morgan, Flora, Henry, and either JP or Johnny. The time period or the general kind of setting would be winter. And it would be
I see what you're doing.
Oh my god, oh god.
The only two characters that could probably stop Morgan and
yeah.
Hey, we just heard that there was a murder that was acquitted down the street. Oh God, why is he strung up and disemboweled?
Flora is so much worse in the winter.
Flora is so much worse in the winter. So is Henry. Morgan is just perpetually
all year round.
All year round. And so the whole idea is there, right? The whole premise of doing it during wintertime is the whole darkness.
Yes.
The whole just the three characters are dark, and then it's either JP who is this.
He's the little light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
It's
him or Johnny. It's the innocent elements of that compared to the darkness, right?
Yep.
And so that in and of itself just is like, holy shit. Or flipping it on its head,
Tomness,
Malcolm, JP, and Johnny with one of the dark characters, or somebody who is semi-dark like Geo. Somebody who is so jaded in the situation with these three sort of enthusiastic, sort of young, sort of just positive light characters.
Which would be interesting
of exploring the light and darkness in a lot of ways. So those team ups would be interesting to me.
And that would be interesting if Geo and Malcolm's backstory, if that actually was part of the backstory.
Oh, that's exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
I really want to see JP mad. Because your Mythoi is a douche. In all lore ever, he's kind of an asshole.
Is he a douche, or is he just is he just acting out for attention?
He epitomizes the free spirit.
Yeah.
I think there's a decent chance that in the next episode we will A, get a little bit more angry JP, and B, I think there's a good chance of exploring the reason why JP and his mythos. One of the things in the book that says early on when you're creating your characters to think about what about the logos would attract the mythos. And I have a feeling that may get touched on a little bit next.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That reminds me, sorry to jump all over you, McLogan, but I would love to see Malcolm and Morgan for that exact reason. Because the attraction between the mythos and logos for Malcolm is tragedy and the childhood inability to cope with a tragic event. and that's what boops them together. And you're a psychiatrist, so that would be interesting to see
Yeah.
you pick apart Malcolm.
Well,
I'm in the same boat because it's
Yeah.
like Henry's going to be like, I have this voice in my head that says I should kill him to save all these other people. Potential. I don't know how to deal with that.
yeah, well,
So-
Morgan's expertise originated in children and family counseling. So because of her own backstory as well. So
Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever noticed that, like how the Morgan plays around Johnny, is that she's very reserved around Johnny. Like that's where like she has the best control of being someone who's like young and innocent, right? And that's what she hangs on to. That's like, so I think that's like where a good element of like the character designs really come in. And I think that'd be great with like Malcolm and her as well, because Malcolm, even though he looks like he's like 17 or 18 around there, he acts like he's 13. And he has that super like that wanderlust about him, you know. So I think that's like super interesting as well. I think the like team combat would be great. Would be JP, Charlie, Johnny, and either like Henry, Morgan, or Malcolm. In that aspect, I think having Geffard, Morgan in the same room would be hilarious. I think having like Geo with like Charlie would be a good combo, because they're both like, I think they're both relatively sneaky characters in my head, or in like with Henry with that too, because of the hunter, and I think the hunter is like very sneaky with that, and like that's why I like to see like
thematic.
Yeah,
team
like a
ups.
thematic team, like you
But
saw
it's standard
in
from
Marvel
Heist.
Heroes. You guys ever played Marvel Heroes? Like,
Oh
if
yeah,
you-
yeah.
If you
and
combine
you get
like
the doctor bonus.
yeah, or
Yeah.
like or the Super Soldier bonus where you had the Captain
Yeah.
America and Wolverine like and Deadpool hanging out together.
Yeah.
Darkest Dungeon does that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I like when you get those bonuses. I like seeing thematic bonuses and like that kind of thing. I mean, like even like Sathana is a combat character. I haven't seen her really fight yet.
No, we haven't, and that's what I was trying to set that up in the bar. Like I wanted to fight just so I could, because Sathana was over doing stuff over with her business, and I was like, oh my god, we could get that Tuesday. I was like, we get to see Sathana fight. We get to see the
Mhm.
Valkyrie, and then she calmed everybody down, and I was like,
Yeah, and I think
Rolling great
another
successes.
another good team would be #social, which would be fucking Roz, Cal, Geo, and I would say Malcolm, because he seems the most sociable out of that group, or charismatic, I should say. And so that'd be like Team Charisma. But yeah, or Team Ginger, which is just meta, Salty, and Ninja all in one group, and then add in whoever you want. But like, I just imagine
Yeah.
the world would burn by that point, and so
well, we can throw Loke in there.
Yeah, the salty meta ninja.
Yeah.
Everyone's worst fear.
Salty meta ninja.
Salty.
I
Everyone's
will
worst
say-
fear.
That's great.
Don't make a stream.
When we were casting before, one of the people that I was looking into, after they had already gotten both Salty and Jinja Ninja, I looked into another person with Jinja in their name and like nearly invited them to the cast, and it would have been complete chaos.
Wasn't their name also Lauren at that point?
Oh
well?
no.
No.
Then we'd have 3 Laurens.
3 Laurens named Jinja. Impossible.
Three Johnnies related.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we do need the Lauren Sam crossover. Just
True.
Oh yeah.
True.
If you
No,
guys
I-
see another Alex, I will just shorten my name even further.
I
Ow.
like.
Ow.
I also want to see the Johnny and Geffart connection down the road, because I think it's because it's so it would just be like them meeting for the first time, and like them nothing, like they're very like weird characters for them to like interact with, And like you don't know if they would get into crazy shenanigans or how Johnny would take to Geffart, or if he knows who Geffart is, and how Geffart is like. I think Geffart's very much like with children as Morgan is with children. So I like seeing that aspect too, of like seeing like these people are very cold and outer, and they keep people out. But like when someone young is around, they kind of open up a little, and they have that. You see like that light that's like in their soul, you know, so to speak.
Soul.
Okay, you know,
Ridiculous.
the void that they have in their chest. But yeah, I think those are always, or Geffart and Geo. Oh my God, no. Yeah, like Geffart's like, I got a burner phone, and I was like, oh my God, Geo is just like the all-knowing bartender, learning all the information, answering the burner phone, and it's like, yeah, you want to go on 6 and Broadway, and like, and fucking, it'd be like the weird spy connection, you know. But yeah,
Geo, I have something for you.
We'll call them birds and bartenders.
No.
Sorry. Okay. Move along.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's it for us tonight.
No, you didn't get to Johnny.
Johnny did go.
Yeah.
He was talking about the light and the dark team ups.
Yeah.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Team
we got
Darkside.
so derailed, I forgot.
Team dark side, team light side. You know.
Okay.
You always have to have a balance in the force
For the Empire.
Yeah, for the Empire. I mean, like that's another the Goody Two Shoe characters, which
Okay,
I think is Johnny
okay.
and JP, and then it's just I'll go on for ages.
Nope.
Okay.
We'll post polls.
Yeah.
We'll post polls.
Going to find everybody on the Twitter. Their Twitter links or names are right there underneath. It's great.
Yeah. See, you can go follow everyone on Twitter. Go do
Twitter.
that. Twitter.
Guys, if you have a favorite team up you want to do, doodle it in art and send it to us on 6 and 20.
Yes,
At 6 and 20.
It's at the very top.
Yeah, there you go in the right corner. If you have any team ups you want to see, please put it there.
Hashtag it.
And
Hashtag 6 and 20.
How dare you?
Hashtag 6 and 20 and hashtag name the team. Oh my gosh, that would be great.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, team names.
Okay, no.
The one shot team names.
We have to be done. This is it.
Slide up in those DMs, guys. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know the teams.
Tell us the things.
And speaking about Eric Vulgaris, that's where we're gonna head over to right now. I'm gonna
Go show him some love. I absolutely love his DM style.
Eric's amazing.
I'll make sure I spell his name right.
Where's he at?
I think he's
on
doing his
channel.
Once Upon a Game.
Oh.
Looks like DCC, which is
Jungle
a great
Crawl Classic.
RPG.
Oh, never mind. I thought it was his once.
Well, I put the braid call in there. So we'll see you guys next time. Everyone wave goodbye. Goodbye. We'll see you next Tuesday starting at 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 8 p.m. Eastern if you're on that coast. So, yay, bye.
Where are we going to be on?
Oh,
That's Video Store Cowboy. Then Unmade Gaming.
Video Star Cowboy, yeah.
Yep.
Wednesdays, Unmade Gaming, and Thursday is Not So Speedruns. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.
Bye.